Chapter 906. No, the ancient star path was opened up by an ancient great emperor. It is guarded by the rulers of different star regions. The rulers of our Devil Sky Star region are the demon sect. Great emperor? So that's how it is. Li Chongqing nodded. Then, what is the ancient star path? Hearing Li Chongqing's question, the black-robed man suddenly fell silent. However, when he sensed Li Chongqing's cold gaze, he shrank his neck and said, Profound Yellow Star region and Tiandu Star region are like beginners' villages. Our ancient star path is the way out of the village. The people in the beginners' villages are not qualified to know what is going on outside the village. Unless you walk along the ancient star path and see the scenery outside, you will naturally know what is going on. Immortal Master, that is all I can tell you. Even if you kill me, I will not tell you anything else. Please don't make things difficult for me. All right, Li Chongqing nodded. It was not easy to get so much information from the black-robed man. Back on Earth, the guardian of the ancient star path had not said anything. Beginner's Village. The strongest expert in the Tiandu Star region has already reached the true immortal stage. If that is the case, how powerful are the existences in the outside world? Li Chongqing began to look forward to it. All right, I want to return to Earth. How do I do that? Logically speaking, the ancient star path only allows people to leave. If you want to return, you'll have to go through some dangers. Not understanding what the black-robed man meant, Li Chongqing revealed a puzzled look. Because this ancient star path is the way out of the beginner's village. When you leave, you can use the teleportation array. Naturally, there is no danger. However, the teleportation array cannot teleport you back. You will have to follow the ancient star path and return with your fleshly body. There are all kinds of creatures in the starry sky. If you're not strong enough, you may die along the way. So that's how it is. Li Chongqing finally understood what the black-robed man meant. It was like taking a high-speed train to get there. It was very comfortable. However, when returning, one would have to walk. Naturally, one would have to cross mountains, climb mountains, and wade through rivers, and experience a series of difficulties. This was because from the very beginning, the people who opened up this ancient road only wanted the people inside to go out along this ancient road. They never thought that the people who went out would return. In fact, since ancient times, there had never been anyone who had returned to this place. The further you go on the ancient path of stars, the more dangers you will encounter. If you want to return, you will have to go through great difficulties. That is why no one has ever attempted to return. The black-robed man said. It was the same as what Li Chongqing thought. All right, show me the way. I'll go back now. After Li Chongqing finished speaking, the black-robed man did not dare to delay. He led them to the back of the palace, where there was a door. You'll be out of the Tiandu Star area once you get out of this portal. I have a compass with the location of the mysterious yellow star area marked on it. You just need to follow the instructions on the compass all the way back. However, there are many powerful existences in the void. At this point, the black-robed man sighed. However, those powerful existences are also unlucky to encounter you, Immortal Master. Indeed, if ordinary people wanted to return, even if they were in the Earth's celestial stage, they would encounter many dangers. However, Li Chongqing was different. Li Chongqing was too strong. Earth's celestials were like ants in his hands. Naturally, he did not need to be afraid of those existences on the ancient path of stars. He began to worry about those existences on the ancient path of stars. If they encountered someone like Li Chongqing, they would be doomed. Li Chongqing ignored the black-robed man's sigh and stepped into the portal with Shangguan Shui and the other two. The moment he stepped into the portal, he felt dizzy. Then, Li Chongqing found himself in the depths of the starry sky. There was a boundless starry sky under his feet. However, because there was no gravitational force of a planet, he could easily float in the air without using magic power. It's so beautiful. Shangguan Shui looked at the stars that were moving around, and her eyes were full of little stars. It's so romantic and beautiful. She could not help but look at Mate Songshu and Gu Bairen, who were next to her. She felt that these two people were a bit of a hindrance. If it were not for these two people, it would be a dream for her and Li Chongqing to walk hand in hand in the starry sky. However, unlike Shangwan Shui, Gu Byron felt endless fear in the boundless starry sky. Who knew what kind of powerful existences were in the boundless starry sky? Li Changsheng took out the compass given to him by the black-robed man and pointed in a distant direction. Let's go from there. We should be able to return to Earth. Speaking of this, Li Changsheng muttered in his heart, did the black-robed man lie to me? If we follow the compass, wouldn't it be terrible if we don't return to Earth? I'm still too naive. However, since he had already stepped into the ancient starry sky road, he could only believe what the black-robed man said. Moreover, Li Changsheng believed that with his current strength, he could protect himself in the starry sky. The few of them kept moving forward in the starry sky. However, the starry sky was too vast, and Li Changsheng's speed was too slow. Therefore, Li Changsheng took out the Chinquin bags he had obtained from the 3 holy lands and organized them. Then, he took out many refining materials and began refining according to an ancient secret method. Li Changsheng sat there refining while Shangwan Shui and the others did not dare to go too far. The starry sky was exactly the same everywhere, and it was easy to get lost. They were divided into 3 directions, with Li Changsheng as the leader, acting as Li Changsheng's protectors. There were many terrifying existences in the starry sky. Li Changsheng was focused on refining, so it was inevitable that he would be unaware of what was happening outside. It would not be good if he was ambushed or something like that. After refining for more than 10 days, a huge flying ship was completed. Li Changsheng had crafted this ship based on the prototype of the ship he saw at sea, and it was 3 times bigger than the ship. The moment it was completed, Shangwan Shui and the others could not help but exclaim in admiration. The few of them sat on the flying ship and sped through the starry sky. Only one person needed to control the direction of the flying ship. Of course, this task was given to Mate Songshu. Li Changsheng and Shangwan Shui stood at the bow and looked at the beautiful scenery outside. Gu Byron drank with Mate Songshu when he had nothing to do. After flying for about 2 or 3 days, they saw an emerald star in front of them, exuding a rich life force. Master, is this your hometown? Mate Songshu asked. Li Changsheng shook his head. This is not my hometown. My hometown is blue and much bigger than this planet. Li Changsheng judged. However, in addition to the different color of this planet, it was somewhat similar to Earth. Li Changsheng was also traveling in space for the first time. Seeing this emerald green planet was like seeing an oasis in the desert. He was very excited. Gu Byron had unknowingly walked to Li Changsheng's side and said, "This planet is full of greenery. There must be life on it, but I don't know if it is friendly to us foreign cultivators." Then he looked at Li Changsheng. "Mr. Li, do you think we should go down and take a look?" In fact, Gu Byron and the others wanted to go up and take a look, but Li Changsheng was their leader, so they naturally had to ask for Li Changsheng's opinion. Li Changsheng nodded. He was also very curious about what kind of life existed on this emerald green planet. Chapter 907. Mate Songshu turned the flying boat around immediately. "Let's go to this planet and have a look." Li Changsheng instructed his disciple. "Okay." Mate Songshu nodded and waved his hand to cast a spell into the flying boat. The flying boat immediately turned around and flew toward the green planet. In addition to driving the flying boat, Mate Songshu had been practicing cultivation techniques these days. Now his strength had broken through to the Vajra realm. It could be said that he had made rapid progress. As soon as Li Changsheng and the others' flying boat approached, there was a violent fluctuation of primordial qi in front of the green planet. Then, several figures appeared in front of them. These people were standing on flying swords and wearing white clothes. If ordinary people saw them, they would be shocked to see them as immortals. A young man at the front said in a cold voice, "Who are you? Who allowed you to come close to my Fee-Crane star?" Fee-Crane star? As soon as Li Changsheng heard the name, he knew that the cranes on this planet must have an extraordinary meaning, just like the dragons on Earth. Li Changsheng asked Mate Songshu to stop the flying boat, and then said loudly, "We don't mean any harm. We just passed by the Fee-Crane star and wanted to take a look." "Humph! What do you think my Fee-Crane star is? Do you think you can come and go as you please? I don't care which planet you are from. But in the immortal crane star field, you have to take a detour when you see people from my fee crane star field. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Li Changsheng heard what the other party said. This immortal crane star field should have several planets with life, which was different from the Tiandu star field. There were several satellites around the Tiandu star field, but only the Tiandu star had life. He didn't know if the planets around Earth, such as the Moon and Mars, had life on them. Li Changsheng couldn't help but think in his heart. According to the information he knew, this vast universe was divided into countless star fields, and each star field had countless planets. However, there were very few planets that could give birth to life. For example, from Earth to the Tiandu star, it was equivalent to crossing 2 star fields. Compared to the vast universe, how small were humans? At this moment, Li Changsheng suddenly became alert. No wonder he hadn't seen the shadow of Earth, even after walking for so many days. He had crossed 2 star fields and returned to Earth at the speed of this flying boat. He was afraid that his old friends would have turned to dust. It seemed that he'd been tricked by that guy. Li Changsheng's eyes revealed a bit of worry. He knew that it would take too long to fly back to Earth by flying boat. He still needed to use the teleportation formation. Building a teleportation array required a place and materials. This person from the flying crane planet was able to fly in the starry sky with a flying sword, which meant that the cultivation civilization had reached a very prosperous stage. Thinking of this, Li Changsheng had a reason to enter the Feihe Star Zone. He immediately said, "Fellow Taoist, I have some matters to attend to in the Feihe Star Zone. Can you make an exception for me?" As the saying goes, try peaceful means before resorting to force. After all, they were in someone else's territory. Li Changsheng felt that it was better to be polite. Unexpectedly, the leading male disciple immediately shouted, "No, my fee crane planet doesn't allow outsiders to enter. Get lost immediately, or I'll take your life." The other party's attitude was extremely domineering. Li Changsheng wanted to say something, but he saw that those people had already flown toward them quickly and surrounded their flying boat. "Since you didn't leave when I asked you to, then don't leave even if you want to," the leading disciple said coldly. "Senior brother, the boat-type Dharma artifact that these people are riding seems a bit strange. This is the first time I've seen a spatial Dharma artifact that can fly in the sky. If we can snatch his boat-type Dharma artifact, we can save a lot of Dharma power when we patrol in the future. It will be much more comfortable." Hearing his words, the surrounding people revealed a greedy look in their eyes. The leading young man's strength had already reached the Finger Xian realm. Judging from his bone age, he was not very old. No matter where he went, he would be considered a genius. Hearing these people's discussion, Gu Bairen and Mate Songshu took out their weapons at the same time. Shangwan Shui's aura also rose. This boat-type mystic artifact is indeed not bad. Since these people dare to come to our fee crane planet, it means that they have some skill. Everyone, don't underestimate them too much. In a moment, we'll form a sword formation and take down the leader. That woman is quite pretty. We'll capture her and present her to the sect master. The sect master loves beautiful women the most. Perhaps he'll be happy and reward her with a longevity pill." "Okay, senior brother." Those people approached Li Changsheng and the others one after another. It was as if in their eyes, Li Changsheng and the others were already turtles in a jar and would not be able to escape from their hands. These few disciples are only in the Khanate realm. There's nothing to be afraid of, but I wonder if there are more powerful existences inside the fee crane planet? While Li Changsheng was thinking, he asked Mate Songshu to try to steer the flying boat around them and rush straight into the fee crane planet. Stop them. When the other party saw that Li Changsheng and the others wanted to force their way in, they immediately chased after them. These people used their magic power to slash at Li Changsheng's flying boat. Li Changsheng did not use any Dharma treasures. He just waved his sleeves and blocked the attacks. Li Changsheng could even kill a perfected immortal realm expert. It was no different from a fool's dream for a few Khanate realm experts to harm him. Mate Songshu pushed the flying boat with all his strength. Li Changsheng blocked the waves of attacks very easily. Among those disciples, the leader was the strongest. The sword in his hand constantly slashed out, creating rumbling sounds in the void. He had reached the Vajra realm. The young man said in a cold voice, "Stop immediately. For hundreds of years, no one has ever dared to barge into the Feecrane planet. If you don't stop, I'll have to use my Dharma treasures." Li Changsheng could not help but shake his head. He thought to himself, "These people are so slow. If you want to use your Dharma treasures, just use them. They speak as if they are so amazing." With Li Changsheng's current combat strength, he was naturally not afraid of them using their Dharma treasures. Seeing that Li Changsheng's flying boat was about to break through the gang chi of the Feecrane planet and enter the planet, the young man suddenly became anxious. The young man thought to himself, "I don't know which sect these people are from. How dare they barge into the Feecrane planet? The elders of the sect will definitely kill them. I'm just responsible for patrolling. If I let them in, I'm afraid I'll be punished by the elders." Thinking of this, he immediately made up his mind and ordered the junior brothers behind him, "Use your Dharma treasures." A large component appeared in each of their hands. Then, they assembled it into a cannon. It was Li Changsheng's first time seeing such a Dharma treasure. The cannon quickly aimed at Li Changsheng's flying boat. Then, with a terrifying loud sound, a big black ball rushed toward the flying boat. The energy contained in the big black ball was not small. Li Changsheng naturally would not let it hit the flying boat. He directly turned into a sword and slashed at the iron ball. When a sword hit the iron ball immediately exploded. Boom! A powerful energy spread toward Li Changsheng and the flying boat. Chapter 908. Li Changsheng hastily activated the giant hand seal to suppress the energy fluctuations. Li Changsheng revealed a bit of curiosity towards this kind of magic tool. It was clear that the cannon that was responsible for firing was also a magic treasure, and the iron ball that flew out was a forbidden weapon. Using the cannon to shoot the iron ball out, and then the iron ball directly detonated to create a powerful force to deal with the enemy. This gave Li Changsheng a feeling of a combination of modern technology and immortal cultivation magic tool. So it turns out that they rely on detonating the magic tool to deal with the enemy. No wonder the other party spoke so seriously. Detonating the magic tool was an attack that cultivators were forced to do. Although it would produce a lot of energy, but the magic tool would also be completely destroyed. When the other party saw that Li Changsheng was not killed, his face revealed a bit of surprise. Under his command, the cannon fired 3 times, and the huge iron ball exploded beside Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng figured out the principle and no longer hit it. He waved the cold light sword and turned it into a sword screen. The energy of the iron ball's explosion hit the sword screen and was blocked one by one. Sword Dao experts could use sword light to form a sword domain. Li Changsheng had already reached the large success stage in the sword Dao, and now, even if he casually used his power, how could a group of Xiantian Rel people break through it? These people are like flies. I can capture one of them and ask about the specific situation of this planet. Thinking of this, Li Changsheng immediately told mate Sangshu to stop the flying boat, turned the boat around, and activated the giant hand seal to attack. When those people saw that Li Changsheng had stopped running, they did not react for a while. Just as he was about to let his junior brothers continue to fire, suddenly a buzzing sound came from the void, and the several young disciples' faces suddenly changed. Not good. It's the iron-armored beasts. Li Changsheng naturally also heard the sound, and saw that in the distance, there was a dense group of 2 house-sized monsters flying towards them. These monsters looked like the lizard dragons in the West, but their bodies were covered with thick scales, and there were 2 wings on their back. The buzzing sound was the sound waves caused by them flapping their wings. Let's go. The iron-armored beasts are incomparably ferocious. We shouldn't stay here for long. The disciples of the Flying Crane Star almost instantly gave up on fighting with Li Changsheng and turned around to fly back to the Flying Crane Star. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, wasn't in a hurry to leave. He looked at the approaching iron-armored beast with a thoughtful expression. The iron-armored beast was extremely fast in the starry sky. It was still far away in the depths of the starry sky, but in the blink of an eye, it was already very close. It was much faster than a flying boat. If he could capture one as a mount, it would undoubtedly be a very good thing. Thinking of this, Li Changxing couldn't help but glance at the white tiger standing on the deck with its fur standing on end. This white tiger was a good mount on land, but in the depths of the starry skies, it was no different from trash. Before the fleeing disciples of the flying crane star fell into the Gangxi layer, they couldn't help but look back at Li Changsheng and the others standing there. I don't know which sect these people are from, but they didn't run away when they encountered the iron-armored beasts. Instead, they stood there stupidly. Now that the iron-armored beasts have rushed to them, I think they will soon become food in the stomachs of the iron-armored beasts. It's just a pity for that beautiful woman. If we offer her to the sect leader, we will definitely get a longevity pill. At this time, while the young disciple was talking, tens of thousands of iron-armored beasts had completely submerged the flying boat. Each of these iron-armored beasts has the power of a Khanate realm cultivator. More than 30,000 of them are indeed terrifying. No wonder those people ran away. Gu Byron said. He was now in the Earth celestial stage. Even without Li Changsheng, he had many ways to escape from these iron-armored beasts. Therefore, he wasn't worried at all and looked calm. Shangguan Shui's strength was stronger than Gu Byron's, and she was also carefully sizing up these iron-armored beasts. Wei Mei Sangshu's heart was beating faster. Each of these iron-armored beasts was very powerful. He even wanted to try his hand and verify the results of his recent cultivation. However, he knew that he might be able to deal with one or two iron-armored beasts, but there were tens of thousands of them. Once he was trapped, he would need his master to save him. Thinking of this, he suppressed the restless thoughts in his heart. At this time, Li Changsheng laughed and said, "It just so happens that my soul-amassing flag needs to gather souls. I don't know where to find souls. These iron-armored beast bodies are so strong. Their souls must be very powerful too. It's just right." He raised his hand, and the soul-amassing flag flew out. With a gentle wave, several iron-armored beasts were shattered, and their souls were collected into the soul-amassing flag. These iron-armored beasts didn't seem to have high intelligence. When they saw their companions being collected, they didn't retreat. Instead, their ferocious nature was aroused, and they madly flew toward the soul-amassing flag. Li Changsheng injected his spiritual power into the soul-amassing flag and activated it with all his strength. Dense black gas flew out from the soul-amassing flag. Everywhere it passed, the iron-armored beasts were turned into dust. At the same time, Li Changsheng took out the cold light sword, which turned into a sword light and swept across. Every time the iron-armored beasts were killed, their souls would be absorbed into the soul-amassing flag. In just a few minutes, thousands of iron-armored beasts had been collected by the soul-amassing flag. Small red dots as thick as a needle's eye appeared on the soul-amassing flag. These were the souls of the iron-armored beasts. Li Changsheng could clearly feel the quality of the soul-amassing flag increasing. The souls of the iron-armored beasts were gradually melted by the soul-amassing flag. They became a part of the soul-amassing flag, increasing the power of the soul-amassing flag. In the end, the soul-amassing flag casually waved and countless black gas flew out. With every wave, hundreds of iron-armored beasts were killed and their souls were absorbed. The soul-amassing flag grew stronger like a rolling snowball. Under Li Changxing's constant control, the tens of thousands of iron-armored beasts became scattered. With a wave of Li Changxing's hand, dense black gas spread out in all directions. Every time the black gas entered the body of an iron-armored beast, the iron-armored beast would immediately turn into a pile of blood mist. The blood, flesh, and soul were all absorbed. When Gu Byron saw Li Changsheng controlling the soul-amassing flag, he couldn't help but shiver. This soul-amassing flag was too evil. Once the black gas entered the body, it would immediately absorb the soul and blood. If this magic artifact fell into the hands of an evil person, it would be a disaster. The tens of thousands of iron-armored beasts were now reduced to less than 1,000. Just as Li Changsheng was about to speed up and refine all the iron-armored beasts. An angry roar suddenly came from the depths of the starry sky. A beast king that was several times bigger than the ordinary iron-armored beasts came out from the depths of the starry sky. The biggest difference between this beast king was that it had an extra horn on its head. With the appearance of the beast king, the iron-armored beasts immediately took the initiative to open up a path. When the beast king appeared, Li Changxing's face revealed a look of joy. He originally wanted to leave one of the iron-armored beasts as a mount. Now that he saw the beast king, he suddenly had an idea. Good timing. This is exactly what I wanted. He put away the soul-amassing flag and directly rushed towards the beast king. Chapter 909. The beast king was originally resting in the depths of the starry sky. When it sensed that its subordinates were almost slaughtered, it rushed over angrily. It originally thought that Li Changsheng and the others would flee for their lives like the cultivators on the nearby planets. However, it did not expect that Li Changsheng would actually rush over to it. It could not help but be stunned on the spot, unable to react for a moment. The strength of this ironback beast king was equivalent to the finger-profound realm of humans, so Li Changsheng took a liking to it at first glance. Seeing that Li Changsheng had already rushed in front of it, the beast king let out an angry roar. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out a tornado toward Li Changsheng. It turned out that it already knew magic. Li Changsheng naturally did not care about the tornado. He directly waved his hand, and the tornado was shattered. At the same time, he directly landed on the back of the beast king. The beast king let out an angry roar and wanted to break free from Li Changsheng's control. Unfortunately, Li Changsheng was so strong that under his deliberate suppression, the beast king was directly imprisoned in the void. After a long time, when it realized that Li Changsheng's strength was far from what it could resist, it finally chose to submit. Li Changsheng then picked 3 more handsome giant starry sky beasts and gave them to Shangwan Shui and the others. Li Changsheng directly put away the flying boat and stuffed it into his Chinquan bag along with the white tiger. Then he directly rode on the giant starry sky beasts and flew toward the Feecrane planet. This time, they entered the interior of the planet very smoothly. Falling from the sky was a vast and boundless grassland. Li Changsheng and the others rode on the giant starry sky beasts and flew forward. However, after flying for thousands of miles, they discovered a strange phenomenon. There were no mountains on this planet. It was all a boundless flat land. Moreover, after flying for such a long time, they did not see any cities. Just as Li Changsheng was feeling puzzled, a few figures in the distant sky quickly flew toward them. Who are you? How dare you break into the Feecrane planet? He saw several disciples in white standing on flying swords. They should be from the same sect as the patrolling disciples. Li Changsheng, who was worried about not knowing the situation of this world, saw them come out and immediately waved his hand. 7 or 8 figures fell from the sky and were instantly subdued by Li Changsheng. Come, tell me about this Feecrane planet. Li Changsheng asked directly. Which planet are you from? You don't even know about the flying crane planet? The captured disciples were surprised to hear Li Changsheng's words. Why do you care which planet I'm from? I'm asking you to tell me about the situation on Feha planet. Hurry up and tell me. If you don't, I'll kill you with my sword. Li Changsheng purposely put on a ferocious look. Those disciples had already seen Li Changsheng's methods and immediately spilled the beans. There were a total of 7 life planets in the immortal Crane star field, and this Feecrane planet was the largest of the 7. There were 7 sects living on these 7 planets, so there was only Feecrane's sect in the entire Feecrane planet. Then other than your sect, are there no ordinary people on this planet? Li Changsheng asked. Along the way, he did not see a single city, not even a mortal. Of course not. The entire planet is filled with disciples of my immortal Crane sect. Or mortals. Li Changsheng was surprised to hear the other party's words. All right, where's your sect headquarters? Li Changsheng came to this planet, this time, to see the scenery of the various star fields in the depths of the universe. More importantly, he realized that he was tricked by the black-robed man. To return to Earth from here, he had to cross several star fields. He did not know how long it would take to fly back. The only way was to build a teleportation formation. With Li Changxing's ability, building a large teleportation formation was not a problem. The problem was that building a teleportation formation required a large amount of spirit stones. Also, there was an uncertain factor whether the location of Earth on the star chart given to Li Changxing by the Black-Robed Man was accurate. Of course, Li Changxing had no other choice now. He could only think of a way to teleport there first. However, the amount of spirit stones required to build a teleportation formation was simply too large. Even with the spirit stones that Li Changxing had plundered from the 3 holy lands, he was still lacking. Thus, Li Changxing set his sights on the Flying Crane sect. Since the people from the Flying Crane sect were not friendly to him, he might as well snatch the spirit stones from them. Hearing that Li Changxing wanted to go to their sect, the white-robed disciples were overjoyed. When they were captured by Li Changxing, they were thinking about how to escape. Now, they finally knew that their chance had come. As long as Li Changxing went to their sect elders would naturally take action. They did not believe that there was anyone in the Immortal Crane Star Field who could defeat their sect leader. In the entire Immortal Crane Star Field, Feihe sect was the largest sect, and the sect leader of Feihe sect was the top expert in this star field. Thus, they nodded without any hesitation and led Li Changxing forward for over 500 kilometers. Then, they saw a majestic ancient city standing on the distant horizon. People came and went in the ancient city. They were all immortal cultivators. None of them were ordinary people, but their cultivation was generally not high. When Li Changxing approached the ancient city, he waved his hand and put away the armored starry sky beast. Just as he reached the city gate, he was stopped. "Stop! Who are you?" Only then did Li Changxing realize that the people in the ancient city were all dressed in white. However, their clothes were different from the other parties, so the white-robed man noticed that something was wrong. "So it's you guys. You were not killed by the armored starry sky beast." A surprised voice was heard. A few white-robed figures pulled out their swords and stared at Li Changxing vigilantly. It turned out that they were the few young men who met Li Changxing and the others in the starry sky. "How dare you come to my Feihe star and behave atrociously? Take him down." Although the white-robed young man did not know how Li Changxing and the others escaped from the siege of the armored starry sky beast, he was naturally fearless in front of his sect. At the same time, many white-robed disciples rushed out from the city wall. "Take them down. Remember not to hurt that woman. I want to present her to the sect leader." The young man was a little disappointed at first. However, when he saw Shangguan Shui, he immediately looked as if he had seen a treasure. Li Changxing was originally here to rob, so there was no need for him to be courteous with them. When he saw those people rushing over, he immediately waved his sleeve. A strong wind swept out, and the hundreds of people who rushed over were all sent flying. The leading young man did not have time to react. He was swept by Li Changxing's palm and spat out a mouthful of blood. Li Changxing took special care of him. "How dare you come to my Feihe star and behave atrociously? When our sect leader comes out, he will tear you into pieces." The young man covered his chest and said viciously. Chapter 9:10. Li Changxing didn't bother about him. He took a step forward and soared into the sky. Then, he drew out the frostlight sword, which turned into a giant light beam and slashed at the city wall. Boom! The defensive array on the city wall was instantly shattered. The city wall that was a few hundred feet tall collapsed under the sword light. Exclamations could be heard from the inside. At the same time, several powerful auras came from the city. A few figures flew out quickly and appeared in front. "Who are you? How dare you destroy the city wall of our Flying Crane sect?" The leader of the group, an old man, stared at Li Changxing and asked loudly, "Are you the sect master of the Flying Crane sect?" Li Changxing didn't answer his question. Instead, he asked a question of his own. "I'm the Grand Elder of the Flying Crane sect. If you don't give me an explanation for destroying the city wall, don't blame me for being merciless. Since you are not the sect master, you are not qualified to talk to me." Li Changsheng waved his hand and formed a palm print that slapped at the old man. You are courting death. The old man's eyes turned cold. He didn't expect Li Changsheng to attack suddenly. He was immediately enraged. The Flying Crane sect was the strongest sect in the entire star region. These sect elders were used to being superior and didn't think that anyone could threaten them. However, they didn't know that Li Changsheng wasn't from this star region. As the palm descended, the first elder didn't take it seriously at first. He casually waved his sleeve, wanting to break it. However, in the next second, when the palm neared, a look of shock appeared on his face. He cursed inwardly, but before he could react, the palm struck him and he exploded into a mist of blood. In an instant, the aggressive Flying Crane sect members all quietened down. They stared at Li Changsheng as though they had seen a ghost. In this star region, the strongest martial artist was only at the Vajra realm. As a mid-stage Vajra realm martial artist, this Grand Elder could be said to be an invincible existence except for the sect master. Now, Li Changsheng had actually killed him with a single slap. It was only at this moment that the Flying Crane sect members realized how terrifying Li Changsheng was. Ask your sect master to come out and see me. If he doesn't come out, I will kill one person every 3 seconds. Li Changsheng said coldly. Everyone present was terrified. What kind of devil was this? Those disciples who were counting on the elders of the sect to deal with Li Changsheng all revealed looks of fear. 3, 2, 1. 3 seconds later, Li Changsheng slashed out with his sword, cleaving one of the elders into 2. After killing 5 elders in a row, a dignified figure finally flew out from the city. This was a middle-aged man. He was dressed in white and had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He carried a slender sword on his back. After he appeared, he didn't say a word. He directly brandished the slender sword in his hand and slashed towards Li Changsheng. The treasured sword condensed into a thread in the sky, cutting the air in half wherever it passed. It was the superior sword technique of condensing swords into threads. The Flying Crane sect's disciples who were trembling in fear because of Li Changsheng's actions earlier all had excited expressions on their faces. No wonder our sect master didn't appear immediately. He went to retrieve the treasure of the sect. This is the Rainbow Light Sword that our Flying Crane sect's founder left behind. It is extremely powerful and will definitely be able to kill this devil. Even Li Changsheng couldn't help but nod his head when he saw the other party's sword technique. This meant that the other party was indeed very accomplished in the sword Dao. However, it wasn't enough to pose a threat to him. The sword thread condensed from the treasured sword arrived in front of Li Changsheng in the blink of an eye. The Flying Crane sect master's face was already filled with excitement. He was very confident in his sword technique. However, in the next second, Li Changsheng gently lifted 2 fingers in the face of the sharp sword thread. Bang! The sword thread slashed his fingers, producing a sound of metal clashing. Then, it disappeared into thin air. On the other hand, Li Changsheng was completely unscathed. How could this be? Everyone from the Flying Crane sect was in disbelief. The Flying Crane sect master was even more stunned. This didn't seem logical. Who exactly are you? The Flying Crane sect master's voice was trembling. The attack that he thought was peerless was like child's play in front of this person. Since when did the immortal Crane Star Zone have such a devil? It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is you. I want you to hand over all the spiritual stones in your sect. If you refuse, I will kill everyone in your sect. Li Changsheng's voice was cold, and his body was filled with murderous intent. He knew that only a thunderous method could make these people hand over the spiritual stones obediently. As expected, the Flying Crane sect master's hand trembled when he heard Li Changsheng's words. No matter where it was, spiritual stones were something that could increase one's cultivation speed. They were extremely precious. However, after witnessing Li Changsheng's strength and ruthlessness, he didn't dare to refuse. He could only lower his head. All right, I will get someone a hand over all the spiritual stones. For the Flying Crane sect, this was definitely an unexpected disaster. However, Li Changsheng couldn't care less. One couldn't be too kind. just like how he was kind to the guardian of the ancient road in the Tiandu star zone. In the end, he was made a fool of. These people were fearless. The simplest and most effective method was to use force to make them submit. Soon, carriages of spiritual stones were transported out of the city. Li Changsheng didn't enter the city, but the entire city couldn't escape from his divine sense. There were more than 300 carriages of spiritual stones in total. This greatly exceeded Li Changsheng's expectations. No wonder everyone in this world can cultivate. There's so many spiritual stones. After transporting all the spiritual stones to the grassland thousands of miles away from the city, Li Changsheng began to use the spiritual stones to set up a formation. Such a huge teleportation formation that crossed star zones was extremely complicated. Even Li Changsheng took nearly 3 months to set it up. When the formation was successfully set up, he immediately felt a trace of connection with the distant depths of time and space. There was also the power of space law flowing. Now that everything is ready, I just hope that the mark on the star chart given by the black-robed man is real. Li Changsheng thought to himself. The teleportation formation he set up could be used 3 times. For safety reasons, Li Changsheng didn't choose to leave together. Instead, he split into 2 groups. Shangwan Shui, Gu Bairan, and Made Songshu were the first to teleport while he waited for the second group. This was because during the teleportation process, if someone destroyed the formation, it was very likely that the teleportation would be interrupted. At that time, they would fall into the boundless depths of the starry sky. Li Changsheng stayed behind to cover them. Even if the flying crane sect caused trouble halfway through the teleportation and the teleportation was interrupted, Li Changsheng could survive in the depths of the universe with his strength and find a way to return to Earth. However, Shangwan Shui and the others couldn't do that. After the formation was activated, Shangwan Shui and the others stood on it. After a strong fluctuation of space, the 3 of them disappeared in front of Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng released his divine sense and shrouded the surroundings. He didn't find any trace of the flying crane sect, so he stepped onto the altar. In a flash of light, he disappeared from the altar. Visible to the naked eye, a 7-colored light kept flowing around him. This lasted for more than 10 minutes. When Li Changsheng felt dizzy, he found himself in a different world. He was finally back on Earth. Chapter 9:11. However, he did not see Shangwan Shui and the others, which was quite normal. With such a long-distance teleportation, it was impossible to be accurate within a few kilometers. It could only guarantee that they would be teleported to Earth. It seems that the black-robed man lied to me, but this star map is real. Li Changsheng thought to himself. Only then did he start to look around. This should be an island, and it was not very big. He could hear the sound of waves in the distance, and he did not know where on Earth he was. Li Changsheng released his divine sense and explored the island. It was not very big, almost the size of a small town. There were almost no signs of other creatures on this island, so he did not know where he was. It seems that I can only think of a way to find them and ask them. Li Changsheng randomly picked a direction, left the island, and flew forward. After flying for about 100 kilometers, he saw a patch of green in front of him. It was another island. When Li Changsheng approached the island, his face immediately lit up. He could see a few figures in front of him, and they seemed to be fighting with a group of wild beasts. What color is that? Why do they all look like wolves, but they're all bigger than cows? Li Changsheng descended from the sky and saw a few figures in camouflage clothes waving their weapons. Although the wild beasts were forced back every time they got close, it was obvious that they were exhausted. At this moment, Li Changsheng walked over. A woman noticed him and immediately shouted, "Friend, run! Don't come over. These are wind wolves. If you get entangled by them, you'll be finished." Hearing her words, Li Changsheng felt quite confused. Or wind wolves. There had never been such animals on Earth before, but he nodded. These people could barely take care of themselves, so it was quite kind of them to remind him. As such, he quickened his pace and said, "I'll save you." Seeing Li Changsheng come over, the woman who had warned Li Changsheng sighed. The wind wolves had clearly noticed Li Changsheng, and one of them directly charged at Li Changsheng. Bang! Facing the charging wind wolf, Li Changsheng directly kicked out. The wind wolf, which had been incomparably ferocious just a moment ago, was sent flying several meters away by the kick. It landed on the ground, unable to get up again. Seeing this scene, those who had been worried about Li Changsheng widened their eyes. Next, they watched as Li Changsheng charged into the pack of beasts, knocking down a wind wolf with a single punch. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen wind wolves had been killed by him, leaving everyone dumbfounded. One of the men gave Li Changsheng a thumbs up. "Bro, you're amazing. Looks like you're a berserker in charge of maintaining law and order. But this place is no longer within the berserkers' patrol area. Why are you here?" Hearing the man's question, Li Changsheng was even more confused than him. What is a berserker? As far as he could remember, there was no such profession on Earth. Is this not Earth? Li Changsheng couldn't remain calm for a moment. However, when he saw how they were dressed and how fluent they were in Mandarin, his worries immediately dissipated. You don't even know what a berserker is? Could it be that you're a secluded cultivator? At this moment, the young men and women were all shocked. A cultivator? That's an existence even more powerful than a berserker. May I know which sect you're from? Wudong, Shushan, Verdant Sect, or Immortal Palace? Hearing the other party's question, Li Changsheng vaguely realized something. Since when did immortal cultivation sects become so well known? Moreover, Li Changsheng was immersed in the joy of returning to Earth just now, so he didn't notice that the spirit chi on Earth had become much denser. However, these people were obviously just ordinary people. Each of them had very strong physiques, almost comparable to first-rate martial artists. It seemed that a lot of things had happened on Earth during the years he was away. "I'm from the Verdant Sect." Li Changsheng decided to find out what had happened first. The Verdant Sect, that's a big immortal cultivation sect. By the way, the sect leader of the Verdant Sect, Zhou Hongsan, is going to have an arena battle with the sect leader of the Immortal Palace in the future. Give me some insider information. What are the odds of your sect leader winning? The man approached Li Changsheng and asked as if he was very familiar with him. However, he was pulled aside by the woman who reminded Li Changsheng at that time. "He's the immortal master of the Verdant Sect. Brother, can't you be more respectful to him? The immortal master is also a human, and he's so kind-hearted. Why would he blame me for saving him?" Although the chubby man said this, he didn't approach Li Changsheng any further. Li Changsheng's eyes showed that he was thinking. Zhou Hongsan is going to have a battle with the sect leader of the Immortal Palace? What's going on? Can you tell me what's going on? Li Changsheng asked. "My master is an elder of the Verdant Sect. After he took me in as his disciple, he didn't tell me anything except to teach me martial arts. This is my first time leaving the sect, so I haven't even been to the Verdant Sect." Li Changsheng casually made up an excuse, but no one doubted it. "So that's how it is. Then you're really lucky to have been taken in as a disciple by an elder of the Verdant Sect." The fat man was called Hua, and the woman who reminded Li Changsheng out of kindness was called Ran. They were brother and sister. Through Li Changsheng's inquiries, he learned that in the 5 years that Li Changsheng had been away from Earth, Earth had suddenly experienced a revival of spirit chi. The bodies of ordinary people had become stronger, and cultivators had broken through one realm after another. But at the same time, those wild beasts had also been nourished by the spirit chi, turning into half-spirit beasts. Their bodies had grown larger, and their strength had become even more terrifying. For example, the wind wolf that had attacked them just now was actually an ordinary wild wolf that had awakened with a wind attribute and turned into a wind wolf. In addition, in order to deal with these wild beasts, various countries had used secret techniques to cultivate new organizations called berserkers. With the revival of spirit chi, many hidden sects had appeared, and the Palace of All Immortals was one of the representatives. Because the Verdant Sect had a profound finger realm expert overseeing it, several demon kings had broken through to the profound finger realm after the revival of spirit chi. The Verdant Sect's strength was like the sun at noon, and it became the strongest sect in the cultivation world. The verdant sect also took on the responsibility of the strong, helping the country fight against the strange beasts, supporting the weak sects, punishing evil and promoting good, and its reputation was very good. But just a year ago, a sect called the Palace of All Immortals had appeared. The strength of this sect was very terrifying, not at all inferior to that of the verdant sect. The difference between this sect and the verdant sect was that they wanted to become the overlord of the cultivation world, and all the cultivation sects had to listen to their orders. This was different from the verdant sect's philosophy, so naturally, there were many conflicts between the two sections. Just a few days ago, the conflict escalated. Two groups of disciples from the two sects clashed, and many people died. Both sides were at daggers drawn. In the end, the rules were set that the sect master of the verdant sect, Zhou Hong, and the sect master of the Palace of All Immortals would fight in the arena to settle the dispute. So that's how it is. But how did Earth suddenly become so rich in spirit chi? Chapter 9:12. Li Changsheng and the others left the island together. They came here on a speedboat. Right, Emperor Li, are you going back to the Azure sect directly, or are you coming with us to watch the decisive battle between the sect master of the Azure sect and the sect master of the Immortal Palace in 3 days? Anran asked. Li Changsheng had changed his name to Emperor Li. Anhua had praised Li Changsheng's name for being domineering. I'll go with you guys. According to Li Changsheng's knowledge, the Azure sect's members were scattered all over the world, and most of them would appear in the decisive battle in 3 days. Therefore, rather than returning to the Azure sect now, he might as well meet them 3 days later. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Ran and the others immediately became happy. An expert cultivator like Li Changsheng was very popular right now, especially this decisive battle. If the Azure sect Master Zhou Hong won, the Azure sect would become the #1 sect in the cultivation world. If they could get acquainted with the Azure sect's disciples, it would be for the best. First, they took the speedboat back to the nearby city. There were berserkers patrolling everywhere in the city. On the streets, loudspeakers were broadcasting warnings about pets turning into demonic beasts and injuring people. Occasionally, they could see people with good martial arts standing on the roofs of cars on the side of the road. At a height of more than 30 stories, a figure jumped down. Just as he was about to land, his toes lightly touched the ground. Like a swallow brushing against water, he instantly swept forward and disappeared from Li Changsheng's sight. The world had completely changed. Li Changsheng was dumbfounded. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. And Ran's family lived in this city. When they heard that Li Changsheng was a disciple of the Azure sect, they immediately received a warm welcome. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Li Changsheng and Ran and their companions arrived at the location of the decisive battle between Zhou Hong and the sect master of the Immortal Palace. It was at the seaside. When Li Changsheng and the others arrived, the beach was already crowded with people. A huge stage had been set up. Both sides agreed that the decisive battle would take place at noon. There are still 2 hours until now. Why don't we go to the front and get a seat? There will be more people in a while, and it won't be easy to get a good seat, Anhua said. Anhua said. Li Changsheng was squeezed inside by them. Li Changsheng and Anhua stood in the crowd. The surrounding people were all talking about this battle. I heard that the Azure sect patriarch, Zhou Hong, is already at the peak stage of the Vajra realm. His withered tree coming in spring saber technique is extremely powerful. I wonder if he can defeat the Hall Master of the Myriad Immortal Palace. Although Zhou Hong is powerful, the leader of the Palace of All Immortals is not weak either. He is a great force that has been hidden for thousands of years. According to the news, it is very likely that he has broken through to the Finger Profound realm. A Finger Profound realm expert. Many people sighed. In this era where there were no Earth Immortals, the Profound Finger realm was already the strongest combat power in the world. The members of the Azure sect are all extraordinary. Even though Zhou Hong is only at the peak stage of the Vajra realm, he might be able to defeat a Finger Profound realm martial artist. Yes, actually, I hope that the verdant sect can win. The Immortal Palace is very ambitious. If they win, then the entire world of cultivators will be dominated by them. Do you think Zhou Hong will die in the arena? Someone whispered. Impossible. The reason why the Azure Gate can contend against the Immortal Palace is because they have a few Guardian Dharma Kings, Gigantic Bone Snake King, White Bear Demon King, and so on. Those are all genuine finger profound realm experts. According to what I've heard, there's also a powerful figure in the Azure Gate, Demon Ox Great Sage. Upon hearing the words the Great Ox, everyone's eyes shone with respect. I heard that the Great Ox is just an ordinary yellow ox, but because of the guidance of the Azure Sect's sacred ancestor, he has been constantly breaking through in just a few short years. I heard that he has already reached the Vajra realm. Why do I hear that it's the Finger Profound realm? Some people even say that he's an Earth Immortal. How could that be? How could someone cultivate so quickly in 5 years? Hearing the discussion around him, Li Changsheng was shocked. Could it be that the yellow ox I saved has become some sort of the great ox? And what sort of person is the Azure Sect's sacred ancestor? Someone in the crowd asked. The Azure Sect's sacred ancestor is the founder of the Azure Sect, and Zhou Hong is his disciple. He even subdued the Gigantic Bone Snake King. I heard that the Great Ox was a yellow ox he casually saved. Could he be even more powerful than the Grand Elder of the Immortal Palace? The Grand Elder of the Immortal Palace is only at the Finger Profound realm, but the Azure Sect's sacred ancestor has killed countless Finger Profound realm experts. The Abbot and the Island Masters of the Yingzhou Island both died at his hands. If the Grand Elder of the Immortal Palace is considered a top-notch expert in this world, then the Azure Sect's sacred ancestor is undoubtedly unparalleled. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Even in Hua and Ran and the others began to discuss the Azure Sect's sacred ancestor. Li Changxing couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't expect to have another title of Azure Sect's sacred ancestor. What Li Changshang didn't know was that Shangguan Shui, the Penglai Island Master, and Maid Sangshu were also quietly waiting in the crowd. The surrounding people were also discussing the Azure Sect, but they had different versions and descriptions. Shangguan Shui's eyes revealed a strange look. I didn't expect Changxing to have so many stories in the mysterious Yellow Star Zone. He's simply a killing god. No wonder he went on a killing spree in the Tiandu Star Zone. Those people in the Tiandu Star Zone are really unlucky to have offended him. Maid Sangshu sighed. I didn't expect Master to have such extraordinary results from saving a yellow ox. We'll soon see Senior Brother make a move. Amidst the discussions of countless people, there was a sudden uproar as a group of people appeared in a grandiose manner. Someone exclaimed, "The people of the Immortal Palace are here. The battle is about to begin." Is that the Palace Master of the Immortal Palace? He has the demeanor of an immortal. He's indeed an immortal. A middle-aged man in a white robe walked up to the ring. As soon as he appeared, he attracted everyone's attention. The Palace Master of the Immortal Palace was now a real top master in the cultivation world. Below him, several white-robed elders of the Immortal Palace stood solemnly. Each of them had a powerful aura. In particular, the 5 elders were as motionless as mountains. Just by standing there, they gave people a suffocating feeling. Those are the 5 supreme elders of the Immortal Palace. Each of them is a powerhouse in the profound realm. They are the most powerful forces of the Immortal Palace. I heard that the 5 of them are not the most powerful. The real powerful one is the former Palace Master of the Immortal Palace. He is the most powerful one. It is said that he is about to reach the Earth Celestial Realm. He didn't show up today, but makes sense. How can a powerhouse like him appear in this world? The 5 Supreme Elders are holding the line. It seems that the Immortal Palace attaches great importance to this battle. They are also taking this opportunity to show off to the world. Rumble. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the sky. 2 figures in white came together, followed by many disciples. It's Ding Qingyang and Ding Qingxue from the Mount Shu Sword sect. They are here. Ding Qingyang and Ding Qingxue are also rare talents. It is said that they are now powerhouses in the Vajra realm. They had a close relationship with the divine ancestor of the Green sect. It is said that Ding Qingxue and the divine ancestor of the Green Sect used to be in a relationship. Really? At the mention of gossip news, many people became interested. On the other side, Maid Sangshu couldn't help but look at Shangwan Shui carefully. In his heart, he treated Shangwan Shui as his master's wife. Now Ding Qingxue came out. He thought to himself, my master is really a womanizer. Ding Qingxue and Shangwan Shui had a similar character. If they both married my master, would they be called the peerless snow? Of course, he only dared to think about it. He didn't dare to say it out loud. Otherwise, he would make Shangwan Shui angry. Shangwan Shui didn't show any special expression. She looked calm. Gu Byron couldn't help but shake his head. He knew that women were the most vengeful. The more they acted like they didn't care, the more they cared about it. Chapter 9:13. Rumble. Powerful auras were constantly coming from the area. Song Zhen, the leader of the Wudong sect, and Yin Shuangying, the leader of the Qingchang sect, appeared one after another. Almost all the powerful cultivators on Earth had gathered there. It was obvious that everyone attached great importance to this battle. At this time, a monstrous pressure came from another direction. The giant Bone Snake King, who was dressed in black, was surrounded by black gas. The moment he appeared, the temperature in the field dropped. The giant Bone Snake King is here. He is the guardian of the Green Sect, the #1 master of the Green Sect. The mighty Elephant King is here too. There were constant exclamations in the crowd. That's the Great Ox. Many people noticed an old man in yellow armor. As soon as he appeared, even the Palace of Immortals was no longer calm. It was rumored that the Great Ox was the most powerful trump card of the Green Sect. Although no one had seen him fight, there would be strange phenomena in the Green Sect every once in a while. Some people saw a huge divine ox bathing in thunder. The Palace of Immortals was afraid of the Green Sect because of the guardian of the Green Sect and the existence of the Great Ox, an unknown factor. The last to appear were Zhou Hong, who was dressed in a green robe, Tong Xian, and Wang Hua. Maid Sangshu was a little excited. These were his 3 senior brothers. As for Gu Byron and Shangwan Shui, their gazes were fixed on the demon ox great sage. This man is not simple, Shangwan Shui said. As a powerful cultivator in the Earth's celestial stage, her knowledge was not comparable to others. The appearance of the great ox made her feel threatened. Gu Byron nodded. He did not expect there to be such a person on Earth. He was sure that the great ox was stronger than he was when he was half a step away from the Earth's celestial stage. As far as he knew, this yellow ox was just an ordinary beast, not even a demonic beast. Mr. Li is indeed a man who can create miracles, Gu Byron exclaimed. At this moment, Zhou Hong had already ascended the arena under the gazes of tens of thousands of people. He stood opposite the Hall Master of the Immortal Palace, Spiritual Master Huayang. Zhou Hong, as long as your Green Sect is willing to listen to my Immortal Palace's command in the future, we don't have to fight this battle at all. You should know that it's impossible for you to defeat me. I've already entered the Mysterious Finger Realm 3 months ago, and you're only at the peak of the Vajra Realm. Although there's only one realm between the Mysterious Finger Realm and the Vajra Realm, you should know how big the difference between them is, right? The Palace Master of the Immortal Palace, Immortal Huayang, quietly looked at Zhou Hong and said, "Really? We'll only know who's stronger after we fight. If you want my Green Gate to listen to your Immortal Palace's orders, then is my Green Gate still the Green Gate? If I really did that, how could I face my master?" "Your master?" "He, the so-called top expert in the world, Li Changshen. I've heard some things about him, but at that time, it was because our Immortal Palace hadn't shown up yet. If our Immortal Palace had shown up 10 years earlier, he wouldn't have had a chance. My master has already been a half-step Earth Immortal and will break through to the Earth Immortal realm in a few days. At that time, our Immortal Palace will have the final say on the entire Earth. Why are you still so stubborn? Cut the crap, Spiritual Master Huayang. If you want to fight, let's fight." Zhou Hong took a step forward and unsheathed the long saber in his hand. In an instant, A vigorous vitality emanated from his body. Under this vitality, even the surrounding trees seemed to be full of vitality. Your immortal palace wants to dominate the cultivation world. Today, I'll use the long saber in my hand to let you know that the Vajra realm of the Green Gate can also cut the mysterious finger. When Zhou Hong's voice came out, it immediately caused a stir in the surroundings. Cutting the mysterious finger with the Vajra realm? What a big tone. This Zhou Hong is too arrogant. The 5 elders of the immortal palace narrowed their eyes almost at the same time, and a cold aura rose up. Zhou Hong's words were seen as contempt for the immortal palace, and they already had the intention to kill him. However, Zhou Hong did not care. The long saber in his hand emitted a green light, and he said loudly, "My master is not here. Today, I'll let you know that his disciple can already hold up the sky. No one in the Green Gate can bully him." A sonorous sound was heard. Many of the people around him felt their hearts ripple. The people of the Green Gate were cheering loudly. The people of the Immortal Palace had a sneer on their faces. In the arena, spiritual master Huayang had the demeanor of a transcendent being. There was an immortal spirit qi on his body, which gave people an ethereal feeling. This was the temperament that he naturally exuded when he cultivated the Great Path to a high level. It was the mysterious finger that communicated with heaven and earth. He's really in the mysterious finger realm. It seems that Zhou Hong is doomed this time. Many people could not help but shake their heads. Whoosh! At this time, spiritual master Huayang had already made his move. His fingers were like lightning, shooting out a white light, which hit Zhou Hong with a roar. He looked calm, but when he made his move, it was like a thunderbolt, which was completely different from his image. This was the strength of an expert in the mysterious finger realm. Once he made his move, it was bound to be earth-shattering. Zhou Hong sneered. A green light flashed, and the long saber in his hand chopped down at spiritual master Huayang. Withered wood revival technique. At this moment, the green light burst out with an incomparably sharp force. Not only did the saber break spiritual master Huayang's attack, but it also formed a saber aura. The sharp saber aura spread directly toward spiritual master Huayang. Spiritual master Huayang took 2 steps back before he raised his hand to block the saber aura. Seeing this scene, everyone revealed a look of surprise. Spiritual master Huayang was 1 realm higher than Zhou Hong, but he was forced to retreat by Zhou Hong in 1 move. Could it be that a Vajra realm warrior could defeat a finger-severing mysterious realm warrior? Moreover, Zhou Hong was still so young. When he became stronger in the future, wouldn't he follow in his master's footsteps and be invincible in the world? Many people were thinking silently. Those who originally thought that spiritual master Huayang would win were also a little shaken. Take another move of mine. Spiritual master Huayang shouted and waved his hand to form a Tai Chi pattern to crush Zhou Hong. That Tai Chi pattern kept rotating, gathering the surrounding spirit energy. It was like a mountain was pressing down. The arena made of reinforced concrete cracked and then collapsed, filling the sky with smoke and dust. Such a powerful force could probably crush a tank. If it fell on a person, that person would be crushed into a meat patty. Zhou Hong's face was calm. He raised the long saber in his hand, and the saber aura formed a semicircle. The Tai Chi pattern pressed on the semicircle, but it couldn't fall down no matter what. In the next moment, he slashed out with his long saber. The sharp force appeared and directly crushed the yin-yang pattern from middle. At the same time, he slashed out 81 times in front of him. The saber aura formed a saber aura and counterattacked. It is said that when the divine ancestor of the Green Sect was unrivaled in the world, he had a supreme sword technique. Who knows how many mysterious finger realm experts died in his hands. Now, his disciple has his master's style in the way of the saber. Facing Zhou Hong's saber aura, even spiritual master Huayang's face changed color. He opened his mouth and spat out a square iron mirror. The iron mirror grew in the wind and became dozens of feet long. The saber aura hit the iron mirror and was blocked. This is the treasure of the Immortal Palace, the moonlight iron mirror. Spiritual master Hua Yang actually took out his trump card. While many people were talking, Zhou Hong jumped high and slashed down with the long saber in his hand. Whoosh! With one slash, the iron mirror was shattered. All of a sudden, everyone was stunned. Spiritual master Hua Yang's eyes were filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Chapter 9:14. Zhou Hong landed on the ground and said coldly, "The power of a magic weapon doesn't lie in the weapon itself, but in the caster. In my hand, even a twig can exert the power of a spiritual treasure. A grain of sand can cut a star, and a blade of grass can destroy heaven and earth." Zhou Hong said loudly. The surrounding people were immediately surprised that he could actually speak such philosophical words. Li Changshen couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't expect his disciple to be more pretentious than him. Just as immortal Huayang was distracted, the saber light turned into 100 feet long and slashed down. It was domineering. Everyone in the Palace of Immortals was surprised. "Watch out! Stop!" The 5 elders of the Palace of Immortals said one after another. The saber light didn't stop at all. Obviously, they were determined to take this opportunity to kill the opponent. "You're courting death." At this moment, the 5 elders of the Palace of Immortals attacked Zhou Hong at the same time. Their terrifying magic power surrounded Zhou Hong almost at the same time. Even if Zhou Hong could kill immortal Huayang if he continued to attack, it would be difficult for him to survive under the attack of 5-finger profound realm experts. He had no choice but to put away his saber and turn to face the 5 elders. But how could he fight against 5-finger profound realm experts alone? The saber in his hand flew out of his hand, and he spat out blood. Too shameless. Fighting in the arena is a matter between 2 people, and they actually interfered. Yeah, many people saw this scene and complained about the injustice for Zhou Hong. However, the 5 elders didn't intend to stop after saving immortal Huayang. They attacked Zhou Hong again, obviously wanting to take this opportunity to kill Zhou Hong. "Stop!" The giant bone snake king rushed into the arena. Tong Xian, Wang Hua, Lu Chong, and the others all attacked. At the same time, a huge palm suddenly fell from the void. The giant bone snake king, who was the strongest, retreated a few steps under the palm, and blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. It's the former leader of the Palace of Immortals. This is the most powerful magic of the former leader of the Palace of Immortals, master of fate, lives, and death. So powerful. The giant bone snake king is already in the Khanate realm, but he was injured by one move. "Humph! How dare you play dirty?" At this moment, the great ox, who was wearing yellow armor, suddenly attacked. A black spear appeared in his hand, and he directly smashed it towards the big hand. Boom, boom. The giant hand was instantly shattered. Amazing. Many people were astonished. Looks like the rumors are true. The great ox has definitely reached the finger profound realm. Isn't this improvement too godly? Even Li Changxing's face revealed a strange expression. He didn't think that this yellow ox would grow from an ordinary demonic beast to a finger profound realm expert in the short 5 years that he had left. This speed was absolutely monstrous. Yellow Ox brandished the long spear in his hand and thrust it into the void after breaking the opponent's palm. Boom! The entire void began to crack, and then a white figure walked out. I didn't think that there would be someone like this in the Azure Gate. However, you have only just stepped into the finger profound realm. The old man in white waved his palm again, and it collided with the great ox's spear. This time, the great ox took 2 steps back. Although the great ox's improvement was very fast, there was still a gap of 3 minor realms between them. He wasn't as heaven-defying as his master Li Changsheng, who could fight across a few major realms. 3 minor realms was an insurmountable gap for him. Your immortal palace is too shameless. We agreed on a duel, but you launched a sneak attack. Do you think our Azure Gate is easy to bully? At this moment, everyone from the Azure Gate stood in a group. Your Azure Gate has always been against our immortal palace. Do you think today is just a simple duel between two sects? The Grand Elder of the Immortal Palace sneered. As his voice fell, countless powerful auras rose from all directions, and figures appeared one after another. I am the sect leader of the Flame Sect. I am the sect leader of the Temple Sect. Heavenly Spiral Sect. Demonic Sect. Impermanence Sect. Stone Thunder Sect. As the figures introduced themselves one after another, the crowd's expression became unsightly. Not good. Senior brother, we've fallen into a trap. The third disciple, Wang Hua, still sounded a little immature, but his eyes were incomparably resolute. Tong Xian also nodded with an anxious look in his eyes. It was obvious that this was a trick set up by the Immortal Palace. The Flame Sect, the Temple Sect, and the others were all reclusive sections. Who would have thought that the Immortal Palace would join forces with them? What do you want? The siblings, Ding Qingyang and Ding Qingxue, walked out and stood with the Azure Gate. Whoever touches the Azure Gate is going against me. The Wudong sect leader, Song Zhen, also stood out. Me too. The Azure Gate sect leader, Yin Shuangying, and Yao Fengchun from Mount Xinwang also stood out and stood with the Azure Gate. The White Bear Demon King, the Mighty Elephant King, and the Giant Bone Snake King stood around Zhou Hong. They were the Azure Gate's strongest forces. "Huh, do you think you can stop us with just a few of you?" The old man shouted coldly and took the lead to attack the Great Ox. The Immortal Palace's sect leader, Immortal Huayang, faced Zhou Hong. All the experts joined the battle. For a moment, the sky fell and the earth cracked, and the sun and moon dimmed. Finally, the Great Ox was sent flying by the Immortal Palace's sect leader, Gong Bumming. The Azure Gate immediately fell into a disadvantage. Zhou Hong was also attacked by the Temple sect leader and was injured. Ha! From today onwards, the Azure Gate will be removed from the world. Gong Blooming laughed out loud. It's over. I didn't expect the Azure Gate to fall into the Immortal Palace's trap. With the Immortal Palace joining forces with so many sects, the Azure Gate is doomed. And ran aside and said, in the field, Zhou Hong and the others were all in despair. Is the foundation left by Master going to be destroyed just like that? At this moment, Immortal Huayang struck Lu Chong with his palm. Lu Chong was already injured, and Zhou Hong and the others couldn't save him in time. Lu Chong couldn't help but close his eyes. If only that person was here. At this moment, Lu Chong thought of Li Changsheng. In his impression, Li Changsheng was omnipotent. If he was here, no one would dare to bully the Azure Gate. What a pity! Lu Chong was already in despair. Go to hell. Immortal Huayang's face also showed a ferocious look. Stop! At this moment, Li Changsheng roared. Immortal Huayang, whose palm had already reached Lu Chong's face, was directly sent flying by the sound wave. Who is it? Everyone in the Immortal Palace's camp was shocked. He could dissolve Immortal Huayang's attack with just his voice. He was very strong. What are you doing? And Ran and her sister saw Li Changsheng walking forward and couldn't help but ask anxiously. Killing. Li Changsheng replied indifferently. Before the two could speak, he had already walked to the center of the battlefield. Chapter 9:15. At this moment, with Li Changsheng's loud shout, the battlefield temporarily stopped fighting. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. When they saw Li Changsheng's face, everyone in the Green Sect's camp was shocked. Their faces were filled with excitement and disbelief. On the other hand, everyone in the Immortal Palace's camp was confused. Master, Zhou Hong, Tong Xian, and Wang Hua hurriedly knelt before Li Changsheng. Everyone in the Green Sect was excited. Sect Master, the Giant Bone Snake King, the White Bear Demon King, and the Mighty Elephant King all bowed to Li Changsheng. Master, the Great Ox, who had already suffered some injuries, actually knelt before Li Changsheng while trembling. He was the most excited. Back then, he was just an old ox that almost became food for the beasts. It was Li Changsheng who gave him life and taught him Dao techniques. That was how the Great Ox became today. Looking at this scene, the scene suddenly quieted down, especially in Ran, An, and Hua, who were even more surprised. Who exactly is he? Why are the people of the green sect kneeling when they see him? And Ran asked in surprise. If I'm not wrong, he should be the legendary green sect's divine ancestor. I didn't expect that we would be accompanied by him all the way here. Then why did he say that he's a disciple of the green sect? He must be pretending. If he told us directly that he's the green sect's divine ancestor, we would be scared out of our wits. On the Immortal Palace's side, they finally knew Li Changxing's identity. Their faces were filled with fear. You're the green sect's divine ancestor? Gong Bumming, the Grand Elder of the Immortal Palace, asked coldly. Before this, they had heard many stories about Li Changxing. Killing a finger-profound realm expert was as easy as crushing an ant. You guys get up first. After Li Changxing finished speaking, he looked at the people from the Immortal Palace and the other major sections. It hasn't been long since I left Earth. How dare you bully my verdant sect? Gong Bumming squeezed out a fake smile and said, Friend, I think there must be a lot of misunderstandings. We don't really want to do anything to the verdant sect. We just want them to get along with us. Live in harmony? Is this how they get along? Li Changxing coldly snorted. I won't make things difficult for you. Each of you leave an arm behind and scram. Hearing Li Changxing's words, the faces of the people from Immortal Palace and the other sects changed drastically. Immortal Huayang was even more unconvinced and said, So what if you are the Azure sect's divine ancestor? Our Immortal Palace is not to be trifled with. Asking us to cut off one of our arms is going too far. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Changxing suddenly waved his hand and slashed out a sword light. Immortal Huayang was directly cut into two halves from head to toe. Suddenly, everyone present gasped. They didn't expect Li Changxing to be so decisive in attack without hesitation. Immortal Huayang was a finger-profound realm expert, but he couldn't resist at all. Thinking of the rumors about Li Changxing, who could kill a finger-profound realm expert as easily as squashing an ant, everyone's body trembled, and his eyes were already looking at Gong Bumming. Others only need to cut off one arm, but as their leader, I want you to cut off two arms. You, just as he was about to say something, Li Changxing had already taken a step forward. At this moment, Gong Bumming was like a frightened beast, his heart pounding. If you don't listen to me, all of you will die. Li Changxing spoke again. His voice became as cold as ice that wouldn't melt for thousands of years, making everyone present feel a chill in their hearts. Gong Bumming clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. In the end, he decisively cut off both of his arms. Bang! Both of his arms exploded into a bloody mist. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain, not allowing himself to make a sound. However, cold sweat was already dripping down from his head. When the others saw that Gong Bumming had chosen to submit, they didn't dare to say anything else. They all raised their weapons and chopped off one of their arms. Only the Stone Thunder sect leader had a bad temper. He shouted, Even if you are the Azure sect's divine ancestor, even if you have outstanding martial strength, I will not accept it. Can you kill all of my Stone Thunder sect? Huh. Li Changxing didn't say anything. He just casually slashed out a sword light. Then, like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, the disciples of the Stone Thunder sect exploded into a bloody mist one by one. In the end, only the sect leader of the Stone Thunder sect was left standing there alone. Just as he was about to say something, he exploded as well. Li Changxing's thunderous methods shocked everyone present. In the end, the people of the major sects who had their arms chopped off all left in a sorry state, leaving a pool of blood on the ground. The remaining people all looked at Li Changxing's face and remembered this powerful figure. All right, let's talk after we return to the Azure sect. Li Changxing looked at Ding Qingyang, Ding Qingxue, Song Zhen, and the others who were surrounding him. These were all his old friends. It was already a huge favor for them to lend a hand to the Azure sect at this crucial moment. Changsheng. At this moment, a pleasant voice sounded. He turned around and saw Mei Tsangshu, Shangwan Shui, and the Penglai Island sovereign walking over. Li Changxing pointed at Mei Tsangshu and said, This is your eldest senior brother, Zhou Hong, second senior brother, Tong Xian, and third senior brother, Wang Hua. Greetings to the three senior brothers. Mate Songshu hurriedly bowed. This is your junior brother, Mate Songshu, the new disciple I accepted. Junior brother, why are you so sick? What is your cultivation level now? I will take care of you in the future. Wang Hua was not someone who was easy to deal with. Back in the sect, Zhou Hong and Tong Xian were his senior brothers, and he, as the third brother, could only be suppressed. Now that he finally had a junior brother, he immediately became excited and reached out to grab Mate Songshu's shoulder. Replying to third senior brother, I am already in the Vajra realm. Wang Hua's complacent face instantly froze. The Vajra realm was already considered a top expert on Earth. He had only reached the peak of the inborn realm and was still a distance away from the Vajra realm. He couldn't help but feel bitter. Although Mate Songshu was his junior brother, he didn't seem to be able to suppress this junior brother. Li Chongqing naturally knew what was going on in Wang Hua's mind and gave him a warning look. At this moment, Shangwan Shui and Ding Qingxue were already standing there and whispering to each other. Li Chongqing couldn't help but feel a headache when he thought about his relationship with the two girls. The few of them returned to the verdant sect together. As soon as they stepped onto the island, they saw a few majestic palaces standing there in a dazzling light. Of course, this was the scene in front of the island. Behind the island was a sea of demonic aura. That was the place where the giant bone snake king, the other demon kings, and the small demons cultivated. Today, the verdant sect had become the leading sect in the cultivation world. Just the ordinary disciples alone already had 8,000 people. In addition to the demons, there were tens of thousands of people. Chapter 9:16. Li Chongshang sat down in the main hall while the disciples of his sect took their seats. He listened to the three disciples report on what had happened after he left. It was basically the same as what he had heard from Enhua and her brother. Thinking of Enhua and her brother, Li Chongshang ordered the people of the Azure sect to take extra care of the Yin clan. The matter between the Azure sect and the Immortal Hall had also come to an end. The sect masters of the various sects, Song Zhen and Yin Shuangying, bid farewell and left. The last to leave were Ding Qingyang and Ding Qingxue. Li Chongshang personally saw them off. Ding Qingyang stood on a rock by the sea and watched the sea while Li Chongsheng and Ding Qingxue strolled along the shore. The two walked for a very long time without speaking. Finally, when they stopped, Ding Qingxue suddenly said, I don't blame you for Sister Shangwan's matter, but I hope that you will always have me in your heart. After saying this, Ding Qingxue quickened her pace and said to her brother, Big brother, we should go back. Li Chongsheng still wanted to say something, but Ding Qingxue did not give him the chance to speak. Soon, the brother and sister each stepped onto a flying sword and disappeared into the sky. What? You must be very reluctant to leave, right? At this moment, he suddenly heard a voice. Turning around, he saw that Shangwan Shui had at some point stood behind him. Li Chongsheng was about to explain, but Shangwan Shui shook her head. You don't need to explain anything to me. In truth, I already thought about it before I came. How could someone as outstanding as you not have a lover? It's fine as long as you have me in your heart. Shangwan Shui and Ding Qingxue had said exactly the same thing. Li Chongsheng suspected that the two of them had discussed this beforehand. Right? I feel that this world is rather interesting. On the way, I heard Gu Byron talk about some interesting anecdotes on the sea. I plan to walk around. Do you want to accompany me? Li Chongsheng hesitated for a moment. I still have something to do. Can I go with you after I'm done? It just so happens that Gu Byron is going back to Penglai Island. I plan to have a look at the 3 celestial islands in your world. Don't worry, as far as I know, the way of heaven in your world almost doesn't allow anyone to advance to the Earth celestial stage. Therefore, with my current strength, I don't think anyone can hurt me. When you finish your business, let's meet at the Green Sect. Li Chongqing nodded at Shangwan Shui's words. After that, he left Mate Songshu at the verdant door and returned to the mainland alone. There were still many old friends on the continent. The next time he left, Li Chongsheng would set foot on the ancient road of the starry sky and travel further and further. He would not be able to return as soon as he went to Tiandu Star Field this time. The next time he would return, it might be 50 years or even 100 years. For many ordinary people, that was already a lifetime. After Li Changsheng came to the mainland, he first went to Qing province. Qing province was his first stop after waking up this time. He had a lot of memories and many of his friends there. Yu Youwei's home was here. Li Changsheng first went to the community where Yu Youwei's family used to live. Unfortunately, after knocking for a long time, no one opened the door. After asking around, Li Changsheng was told that she had moved away 2 years ago. This made Li Changsheng feel a little confused. The world was vast. Yu Youwei's family had moved away. Where could he find her? After leaving Yu Youwei's community, Li Changsheng went to Qingzhou University. At the gate of the university, he was stopped by a security guard. Are you a student of this university? Do you have a student ID card? This university is not a place that anyone can enter and leave casually. Although Li Changsheng was very polite, the security guard did not treat him well. In this day and age, one could know a person's face but not his heart. Many crimes were committed by those who looked very honest. No matter how much Li Changsheng talked, the security guard would not let him in. This made him feel helpless. When he was about to find a place to jump over the wall, a slightly surprised voice sounded. Are you Li Changsheng? He turned around and saw a slender figure. It was actually Su Jing. Li Changsheng turned his head. His face was a little surprised. Su Jing, it's you. We meet again. Teacher Su Jing, you know him? The school security guard was a little surprised. Yes, this is my friend. Master Bai. Can you let him go in with me? Of course. Su Jing was a famous beauty in the school. However, since Su Jing had spoken, the security guard naturally no longer suspected that Li Changsheng was a bad person. He followed Su Jing into the school. After a long time, Su Jing was very excited to meet again. She asked a lot of things about Li Changsheng. Because Su Jing was not a cultivator, Li Changsheng only said that he had gone out to do business in the past 5 years. Su Jing did not suspect anything. Let's go. I'll take you to the combat team. Su Jing was still in charge of the combat team. Originally, the school wanted her to teach the students, but she said that she preferred to stay in the combat team. Do you have any news about Wang Dongsheng and the others? Li Changsheng asked as they walked. This time, he wanted to meet all his old friends. It was also a kind of farewell. Wang Dongsheng has inherited his family's group. Sometimes I see him on the news. He's a little busy with business now. Occasionally, he would come to Qingzhou to visit me. But I see Wei Hu often. He's now a PE teacher in a high school in Qingzhou. That guy is very rude to the students, so the students gave him a nickname, Tiger Wei. Is that so? Li Changsheng also smiled. Thinking of Wei Hu, that rude guy, he did not expect him to be a teacher. Are Wang Dongsheng and Jin Wenwen happy? Li Changsheng asked again. They love each other very much. They were even named as the model couple by the magazine. The two talked as they walked. When they arrived at the gym, they heard the sound of snoring as soon as they walked in. A group of bare-neck boys were exercising. Some were hitting sandbags. Some were doing sit-ups. Everyone's muscles were bulging and full of youthfulness. Seeing Su Jing come in, they immediately stopped what they were doing and greeted Su Jing. Hello, Ms. Su. Hello, Ms. Su. At the same time, they were also secretly sizing up Li Changsheng. Su Jing was a very famous beauty in the school, but she had never had a boyfriend. There were no rumors at all. Now that she walked in with a man, many people had their guesses. At the same time, many men's eyes dimmed. Su Jing's beauty made many people see her as a goddess. Miss Su Jing, who is he? A tall and handsome young man asked. His name is Li Changsheng. He's the former coach of the combat team. Su Jing introduced him proudly. Thinking back to that period of time, when Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and Jin Wenwen refused to submit to Li Changsheng and ended up being treated miserably by Li Changsheng, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. Really? It caused a commotion in the gym. Senior, I wonder if you can give me some pointers? At this time, a man with a red rope wrapped around his arm walked out. He was the current coach of the combat team, Yang Bo. He had just participated in an international competition and won second place. He was considered a top-notch figure in the combat circle. He was very confident in his strength and thought that he was the strongest coach in the history of the combat team. However, every time he praised himself, Su Jing would pour cold water on him, saying that he hadn't met the person from 5 years ago. Otherwise, he would be beaten to a pulp. When Su Jing introduced him just now, she said that Li Changsheng was the coach here 5 years ago. He was eager to give it a try and stood up. Sure, Li Changsheng didn't refuse and put on airs. A worldly expert like Yang Bo was worse than an ant in his eyes. However, this was also a form of respect for the other party. Yang Bo's eyes were shining. The people around him automatically dispersed and made way for him. Everyone was watching excitedly. Many people were cheering for the coach. Of course, they were cheering for Yang Bo. After all, Yang Bo was their current coach. At the same time, many people were curious about Li Changsheng. They wanted to know what level the coach of the combat team from 5 years ago was at. Chapter 9:17. Take this. Yang Bo practiced Muay Thai. He took 3 steps forward, jumped high, and smashed his knee down. Li Changsheng casually raised his hand. Pon. He accurately blocked the opponent's knee. Yang Bo fell from the sky, and Li Changsheng didn't move from the beginning to the end. This time, Yang Bo's face showed surprise, and he put away the contempt in his heart. He knew that Li Changsheng was the strongest opponent he had encountered so far. He attacked again, and this time, he smashed his hand toward Li Changsheng. It was vigorous and very imposing. Li Changsheng had already let him make a move. This time, he raised his arm to block, and his other hand slapped toward Yang Bo's face. This was the monkey face washing of Xingyi boxing. To deal with Yang Bo, Li Changsheng naturally wouldn't use his true strength. But even if it was just a casual move, it was still very exquisite. Yang Bo saw Li Changsheng's palm on his face, and it was too late to retract his fist. He cursed in his heart and thought, if this goes on, I'll definitely be beaten beyond recognition. But in the next moment, Li Changsheng's palm landed on his cheek, but it was like a ball of cotton hitting his face. His attack was easily resolved by Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng took a step back and cupped his hands. Thank you for letting me win. Yang Bo took a deep breath and bowed respectfully to Li Changsheng. Mr. Li's strength is unfathomable. Yang Bo is ashamed of his inferiority. Many of the students next to them were puzzled. They clearly saw that the two of them didn't have a winner. Why did the coach admit defeat? Let's go. Li Changsheng and Su Jing left the combat hall together. Although the overall appearance of the combat hall hadn't changed much from 5 years ago, the biggest change was the people training inside. After Li Changsheng left, many students couldn't help but ask, Coach Yang, you didn't lose just now. Why did you admit defeat? Yeah, I think Coach Yang, if you go all out, he might not be your opponent. Hearing the student's words, Yang Bo shook his head and smiled bitterly. Don't flatter me. Just now he went easy on me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to take even one hit from him. This senior is really powerful. To think that I don't know who I am after winning a few matches. It seems that I have to study hard and strive to reach the same level as this senior one day. Hearing Yang Bo's words, the surrounding students looked at each other in dismay. Once again, they looked toward the entrance, but Li Changsheng and Zhang Xian were nowhere to be seen. But everyone remembered the name Li Changsheng. In their minds, Coach Yang Bo was already very powerful. If Coach Yang Bo felt inferior, then he must be a top master. Students were always simple-minded, and joy was easily shown on their faces. Li Changsheng and Su Jing left the sparring room. Let's go. I'll treat you to a meal. I'll also call Wei Hu to come over. Sure. Li Changsheng sat in Su Jing's car and went to a big hotel in Qingzhou, Triumph Hotel, for dinner. Will it eat up your 1 month's salary? Li Changsheng joked. Su Jing's salary was indeed not high. If I can treat you to a meal, let alone a month's salary, even a year's salary wouldn't matter. Su Jing stared at Li Changsheng with a smile. Li Changsheng couldn't help but lower his head. He didn't say anything. Su Jing's eyes showed a bit of sadness. Hey, Wei Hu, where are you? Come to the Triumph Hotel for dinner. Su Jing took out her phone and made a video call. On the other side of the phone, Wei, who was sitting on the field in sportswear. There was a whistle around his neck, and his 3mm hair looked particularly energetic. Behind him was the blue sky. Look who this is. Su Jing turned the camera and pointed it at Li Changsheng. Wei, who didn't think much of it at first. Su Jing, did you find a boyfriend and want to treat me to a meal? Before he could finish his sentence, he suddenly stopped. Wei, who long time no see. Li Changsheng greeted Wei, who on the phone. On the other side, Wei, who, a big man, suddenly burst into tears. Coach, it's really you. You're back. Wait for me. I'll be right there. With that, he hung up the video call. One could imagine Wei, whose hurried look. Wang Dongsheng and Jin Wenwen are in Shuazhou, which is quite far from here. I think I'll call them and tell them you're back. They'll definitely come tomorrow. No need. Li Changsheng shook his head and said, I'll be back for a while this time. If I pass by Shuazhou, I'll visit them. If not, you can give me your WeChat and I'll video call them. Li Changsheng knew that everyone had their own life. For these people, he was just a passerby in their lives. Similarly, others were passers-by to him. Sometimes when they didn't see each other, they would want to see each other. But when they did, they would only feel a little emotional. Wei came quickly. One could imagine that he must have left the school at a running speed and came straight here. When he went up the stairs, his footsteps were so heavy that the whole floor shook. He sat in a private room and smiled at Li Changsheng. Wei, who didn't know how to express himself, but Li Changsheng could clearly feel the joy in his heart. After the three of them had a meal, they decided to leave. As soon as they walked out of the private room, Li Changsheng's body suddenly shook and his expression became dazed. She saw a woman in white with a big belly walking up the stairs accompanied by a man. There were some companions beside her. The woman seemed to feel that someone was looking at her. When she turned her head and saw Li Changsheng, she was stunned on the spot. By Qinxue, Li Changsheng didn't expect that the two of them would meet again under such circumstances. He is? The man next to Bai Qinxue asked in confusion. An old friend, Bai Qinxue said. Li Changsheng's expression returned to normal. He greeted Bai Qinxue. Hello, we meet again. Yes. Bai Qinxue touched her belly with a smile on her face. When the two of them met again, everything seemed to be very natural and calm. How many months have you been? Li Changsheng asked. 9 months. I'm about to give birth. After Bai Qinxue finished speaking, she introduced to Li Changsheng. This is my husband, Yuan Bai. This is my friend, Li Changsheng. Hello. Bai Qinxue's husband seemed to have realized something, but he still had a handsome smile on his face. I didn't expect to meet you here. This talisman is for you. I asked for it from Master. Li Changsheng thought for a while and took out a yellow talisman, folded into a triangle from his pocket, and gave it to Bai Qinxue. Thank you. Bai Qinxue smiled and put away the talisman very solemnly. When my child is born, I'll hang the talisman around his neck. Bai Qinxue knew a little about Li Changsheng. In addition, with the recovery of spirit qi, the existence of immortal cultivators was no longer a secret. She knew that since it was given by Li Changsheng, it couldn't be simple. Chapter 918. All right then, I'll take my leave first. Li Changsheng, Su Jing, and Wei Hu walked out of the restaurant. Bai Qinxue's husband, Yuan Bai, said, Qinxue, why is your friend so weird? He even gave my child a talisman. Does he think he's an enlightened monk? Give me the talisman, I'll throw it away. Yuan Bai, I think it's better not to throw it away. My friend is a little special. Maybe this talisman can protect our child. Qinxue, what era is this? You still believe in this? Give me the talisman. If not, I'll be angry. Originally, Yuan Bai didn't care whether he wore the talisman or not. However, he could tell that Li Changsheng had a special relationship with his wife. He felt a little upset, so he insisted on throwing the talisman away. All right. Bai Qinxue couldn't argue with her husband and took out the talisman. Yuan Bai was about to throw it away when a friend beside him suddenly said, Wait a minute, let me see. As he said that, he took the talisman in his hand and frowned. Yuan Bai and Bai Qinxue also looked a little nervous. They thought to themselves, could there be something unclean in this talisman? However, after a long time, That person raised his head and said solemnly, Yuan Bai, don't throw this talisman away. I just checked it. There's a strong power of fortune inside. If you put this talisman on your child, it can guarantee that your child will be immune to diseases and poisons. It can even save your child's life at a critical moment. Hearing that, Bai Qianxue and Yuan Bai were a little dumbfounded. This talisman is so powerful. Of course, don't forget who my master is. Hearing that, Yuan Bai and Bai Qianxue immediately believed him. This young man was a university student. After graduating from university, it happened to be the time of the spirit qi recovery. Because of his family's connections, he became a disciple of the righteous sect. Now, with his cultivation, he was also a famous person in Qingzhou. It seems that your friend is really kind, Yuan Bai said awkwardly. Bai Qianxue's expression was a little absent-minded. She and Li Changsheng were no longer in the same world. After parting ways with Su Jing and Wei Hu, Li Changsheng went to the Chu family's villa at the foot of the Nine Emperors Mountain to visit his old friends, Chu Yaotian and Chu Ming. When Li Changsheng arrived, it was noon, the weather was hot, and the sun was scorching the earth. On the road, Li Changsheng realized that there were many people surrounding and shouting something. When he got closer, he heard them shouting, Chu Yaotian, come out quickly. Weren't you very stubborn? Why are you acting like a coward? Yes. If you don't dare to accept the challenge, the title of Qing Prefecture's #1 expert will change hands. Friend, what happened? Li Changsheng patted the shoulder of a young man at the back of the crowd. The young man turned around and said with a smile, Friend, you actually don't know what happened in Qing Prefecture? This Chu Yaotian rose quickly in the past few years and became a Xiantian expert. He defeated several experts in Qing Prefecture and established his position as the #1 expert in Qing Prefecture. Some time ago, the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect returned to Qing Prefecture and heard of Chu Yaotian's reputation. He wanted to invite him to do something. Who knew that his temper was so bad and stubborn that he injured one of the disciples sent by Qian Bao. Thus, the people of the righteous sect came to find trouble with him. Chu Yaotian hid in the courtyard and refused to come out. It turned out that the strange beasts were running rampant in the world. Ordinary guns and cannons didn't do much damage to the strange beasts, but large-scale weapons were also a big problem for the country. Thus, the disciples of various cultivation sects were gathered to take up positions in various cities and were responsible for defending against these strange beasts. The eldest senior brother of the righteous sect, Qian Bao, came to Qing Prefecture under the orders of his sect. Since this Chu Yaotian is the #1 expert in Qing Prefecture, why would he be afraid of the righteous sect? Li Changsheng wondered. Chu Yaotian certainly doesn't care about these small fries. However, I heard that the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect is very powerful. Chu Yaotian knows that he can't beat him, so he simply doesn't accept the challenge. However, the people of the righteous sect are endless. I wonder which one of you is the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect? Li Changxing asked. Who is the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect? Naturally, he won't come in person. Those who came are just some of his supporters. I'm just here to watch the fun. So that's what happened. Li Changxing nodded and then walked through the crowd toward the gate of the Chu villa. Hey, friend, the Chu family won't open the gate. It's useless for you to go there. The young man shouted. Li Changsheng had already walked to the front of the door. Everyone looked at Li Changsheng with a puzzled expression. Li Changsheng knocked on the gate and shouted inside, Hey, open the door. I'm Chu Yaotian's friend. As soon as he finished speaking, an eye peeked through the crack of the gate. It could be vaguely seen that it was an old man. Young man, my master is not here. Please go back. I'm really a friend of your master. Li Changsheng explained. I'll have to trouble you to inform your old master that Li Changsheng has come. However, the old man still shook his head. I know all of my master's friends. None of them are as young as you. You're just trying to trick me into opening the gate. My master has already said that the gate must not be opened. If it is opened, it will give the righteous sect a chance to come in, so don't waste your time. After saying that, the old man turned to leave. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It was like a big bird flying from the sky with a whistling sound. As he approached, a loud voice came from the sky. Chu Yaotian, if you still don't accept my challenge, I will charge into your Chu clan's courtyard. The other party was aggressive and could fly. Although Li Changsheng could see that the other party was using a magic tool, he was definitely an expert above the innate realm. No wonder Chu Yaotian didn't dare to accept the challenge. Eldest senior brother is so handsome. Eldest senior brother is so cool. No wonder he's the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect. Just with his sword technique, he could be called the best among the younger generation. There was a burst of praise and flattery from below. The man stepped on a flying sword with his hands crossed in front of his chest. He was proud of himself and looked indescribably cool and comfortable. At this time, Li Changsheng said to the old gatekeeper through the crack in the door, "This should be your master's enemy, right? How about this if I help your master beat him back? Does that mean I'm your master's friend?" Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the old man was stunned. Then, he shook his head and said, "Young man, if you can say such words, it means that you're not a member of the righteous sect. However, it's not that I'm looking down on you. In Qingzhou, there's no one else who can defeat the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect." Then he sighed. If my master hadn't had a problem with his cultivation 2 days ago, he wouldn't have been bullied by this kid. Everyone says that the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect is so outstanding. I think he's just a villain who takes advantage of others' difficulties. No wonder my master doesn't like him. Hearing the old man's muttering, Li Changsheng raised his head and looked at the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect in the sky. Then, he suddenly took a step forward and his body rose from the ground. In an instant, he rushed into the sky. Then, he raised his palm and struck out. A transparent palm print with terrifying power directly imprinted on the body of the eldest senior brother of the righteous sect. Then, the eldest senior brother, who had been incomparably cool just a moment ago, drew an arc in the sky like a flying bird that had been shot by a slingshot. He directly fell into the grass 500 meters away. Hiss! At this moment, there was a sound of gasping in the field. Countless people were stunned, and their expressions were extremely interesting. The old man in the crack of the gate also rubbed his eyes to make sure that he was not seeing things. At this time, Li Changsheng returned to the gate and said to the old man inside, "How is it? Can you open the gate for me now?" Although the old man was sure that Li Changsheng was definitely not a member of the righteous sect, Chu Yaotian had already given him a strict order not to open the gate for anyone. If he opened the gate, he would be violating Chu Yaotian's order. But if he didn't open the gate, he was afraid that Li Changsheng would be left out. For a moment, he was in a dilemma. When Li Changsheng saw the old man's expression, he immediately understood a little. He shouted inside, "Chu Yaotian, your master is here to see you." His voice was not loud, but it accurately traveled 1,000 meters and reached the ears of everyone in the Chu family villa. Chapter 919. Following Li Changsheng's voice, the sound of footsteps could be heard coming from the Chu clan's manor. The old guard was wondering who Li Changsheng was and how he dared to claim to be his master's teacher when he saw Chu Yaotian walking out with Chu Ming. Seeing the tightly shut door, he immediately said, "Old Zhang, quickly open the door. I want to see teacher." Seeing his master's anxious look, the old guard finally realized that the young man wasn't talking nonsense. He really knew his master and hurriedly opened the door. The moment he saw Li Changsheng, Chu Yaotian almost knelt down. However, Li Changsheng reached out and held him. Chu Yaotian was an old man in his 60s, but at this moment his eyes were brimming with tears. "Teacher, I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again in this lifetime," Chu Yaotian said with a trembling voice. Indeed, according to the past, Li Changsheng would sleep for more than 30 years. Sometimes it would even be 50 or 60 years. The chances of him seeing Li Changsheng were indeed slim. Li Changsheng patted Chu Yaotian's shoulder and nodded. "I didn't expect you to have already reached the peak of the innate realm. You're only one step away from the Vajra realm. It seems like you have improved a lot in the past 5 years." After receiving Li Changsheng's praise, Chu Yaoyan's face immediately bloomed with joy. Let's go inside and talk, Li Changsheng said. Many people outside stuck their heads out and looked at the scene in surprise. They were all discussing and were very curious. Chu Yaotian had a very high status in Qingzhou. It was so in the past. It was even more so now. To be able to make Chu Yaotian so respectful. Who was this person? Chu Meng looked at Li Changsheng with excitement in her eyes. She was now fully aware of Li Changsheng's identity. He was a monster who had lived for over 10,000 years. Originally, she knew that she and Li Changsheng were from two different worlds and would never be able to catch up with Li Changsheng's footsteps. She had already decided that it was better to reminisce than to meet each other. However, when she saw Li Changsheng again, she still couldn't suppress the feelings in her heart. If it weren't for the fact that so many people were watching, she would have thrown herself into Li Changsheng's arms. Yes, let's talk inside. Only then did Chu Yaotian calm down and lead Li Changsheng into the Chu clan's manor. When the doors of the Chu clan were closed once again, there was already a huge uproar outside. The eldest senior brother of the Zhengyi sect was hit by a palm and fell from the sky. Qingzhou's number one person, Chu Yaotian, respectfully welcomed a person named Mr. It is said that Mr. is most likely Chu Yaotian's grandson-in-law. There were all kinds of speculations about Li Changsheng's identity, and all kinds of versions were circulating. At this moment, the eldest senior brother of the Zhengyi sect, who had been beaten to the ground by Li Changsheng, crawled out of the grass with a gloomy face. There was a look of humiliation in his eyes. However, he looked at the Chu clan's villa and didn't dare to provoke them again. The feeling that Li Changsheng gave him just now was too terrifying. He didn't even have time to react before he was smashed from the sky. I'll definitely come back. The eldest senior brother of the Zhengyi sect turned around and walked down the mountain. Li Changsheng was led into the living room. Chu Yaotian helped to make tea. Benefactor, why did you suddenly come back? You won't be leaving this time, right? Hearing Chu Yaotian's question, Li Changsheng smiled. I'm just here to see you. I'll leave in a while. What? Why are you in such a hurry? Chu Yaotian's face suddenly showed some reluctance. Now that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth is rich, I'm afraid that there will be shocking changes. I'll teach you a set of cultivation methods. Cultivate well, and we'll meet again in the future. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, he put his finger between Chu Yaotian's eyebrows. Chu Yaotian's body suddenly trembled, and a set of cultivation methods appeared in his mind. Then Li Changsheng passed the cultivation methods to Chu Meng in the same way. At this moment, there was a sudden commotion outside. Old Zhang, who was in charge of guarding the door, hurried in. Master, bad news. The sect leader of the Zhengyi sect has come in person. He said that he wants to seek justice for his disciple. There were many people gathered at the entrance of the Chu clan's villa. Among them, there was an old man in a Taoist robe standing at the front. He had just passed by Qingzhou and planned to visit his disciple when he heard that his disciple had been beaten up. Therefore, he immediately came to the door angrily. That Chu Yaotian is only a Khanate realm master. How dare he hurt my disciple? I'll make him kneel down and apologize to my disciple today, the old Taoist said angrily. At this moment, the door of the Chu clan's courtyard opened. Li Changsheng, Chu Yaotian, and the others walked out. Who hurt my disciple? Step forward. Taoist Master Changmei of the Zhengyi sect said loudly. Changmei had a short temper, and he was famous in the cultivation world for not being easy to provoke. I did it. Why? Do you look like you want to take revenge for your disciple? Li Changsheng said coldly. Who are you? Tell me your name. I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your elders. You don't have the right to teach me a lesson. I'm Li Changsheng. When Li Changsheng said his name, the old Taoist master's body suddenly trembled, and he immediately forced a smile on his face. I think this is a misunderstanding. As he said that, he pulled his disciple and was about to leave. Master, he hasn't knelt down yet. The eldest senior brother of the Zhengyi sect hurriedly said. The people around them were all surprised. What's going on? Did I say you could leave? Li Changsheng said coldly. Suddenly, the old Taoist master's body trembled. He turned his head and said with a fawning face, It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. I didn't know Mistily was here. A misunderstanding? I don't think so, Li Changxing said with a half-smile. The old Taoist master's legs began to tremble. Although the Jingyi sect was a major sect in the cultivation world, it was far inferior to the Palace of Immortals. Even the Palace of Immortals had to cut off their own arm when they met Li Changxing. What was the old Taoist master to him? I can't believe I met this devil. The old Taoist master muttered in his heart, but his face looked miserable. All right, don't pretend to be miserable in front of me. Take your disciple and get out. Remember, if you dare to provoke the Chu clan again, I'll destroy your Jingyi sect. Yes, yes. Changmei nodded like a chick pecking rice, as if he had been pardoned. Then, he pulled his disciple and quickly left. They didn't stop until they were thousands of meters away. Master, why? That young man is so arrogant. Are we afraid of him? Of course we are. The old Taoist master immediately glared at his disciple. He is Li Changxing, the #1 expert in the world. A few days ago, when the people of the Immortal Palace saw him, they had to cut off one of their arms to escape with their lives. If we provoke him, he can destroy our righteous sect in a matter of minutes. Hearing his master's words, the eldest senior brother of the Zhengyi sect showed fear on his face. He is actually so powerful. At the same time, Li Changxing also said goodbye to Chu Yaotian and his granddaughter. He planned to leave after finding Yu Wei. The changes on Earth gave him a sense of urgency. He felt that not only Earth, but the entire universe had probably ushered in some kind of change. Chapter 9:20. It was now July, the hottest time of the year. The sun was so hot that the earth was almost smoking. Li Changxing left the Chu family manor and left Qingzhou by car. He learned some information about Yu Wei from Chu Yaotian. After Li Changxing left Earth, Chu Yaotian had been secretly helping to take care of Li Changxing's friends. However, it was said that Yu Wei went to Beijing after graduating from university. Due to the recovery of spirit energy, the world had undergone huge changes. Chu Yaotian was too far away to help and did not know much about Yu Wei. It took about 5 to 6 hours to walk from Qingzhou to Beijing. After getting out of the car, Li Changxing looked at the bustling scene of people coming and going. If it weren't for the abundant spirit energy in the air reminding him of the recovery of spirit energy, he wouldn't have been able to tell anything from the scene in Beijing. Beijing was heavily guarded. Those mutated beasts naturally couldn't come here to cause trouble. Therefore, apart from the occasional cultivators flying in the sky, this place was no different from before. The Baihang Martial Arts Club is recruiting students. After learning it, you can fly in the sky, capture the sun and moon, move mountains and seas, and do everything. The sound of loudspeakers came from all around. Along the way, Li Changxing saw many similar martial arts clubs. Now that spirit energy had recovered, ordinary people were many times stronger than before. This also gave rise to many institutions that specialized in training ordinary people. Of course, some of these institutions were real and some were fake. For example, Li Changxing didn't even need to look at what was being taught to know that it was bragging. Capture the sun and moon, move mountains and seas. Not to mention this small martial arts club, even Li Changxing himself couldn't do it. After taking a few more steps forward, Li Changxing was suddenly blocked by someone. Hey, friend, do you want to join our martial arts club to learn some self-defense skills? Now that you're out of Beijing, there are monsters everywhere. If you don't know some martial arts, I'm afraid you'll die in minutes. A young man stopped Li Changxing and recommended the courses of their martial arts club to Li Changxing. I don't need to learn martial arts, Li Changxing said indifferently. Friend, you're wrong to say that. Only by learning martial arts can you protect yourself and not cause trouble for the country, and the young man chattered on and on. Li Changxing originally wanted to walk away, but suddenly he saw the brochure in his hand. There was a group photo in it, and his gaze couldn't move away, because the photo was clearly a group photo of Yu Wei and a few other students wearing training clothes. Who is she? Li Changxing interrupted him and pointed at a figure in the brochure. Her. She's Yu's assistant professor, Yu. Now that demon beasts are running rampant, the entire country is in a state of panic. Every company has organized and set up research labs, and Assistant Professor Yu is one of the workers in the Super Biotechnology Research Lab. She's in charge of researching medicine that can strengthen the human body. Let me tell you, the biggest difference between our martial arts club and other martial arts clubs is that if you join our martial arts club, as long as you perform well, you may be able to enjoy the biological reagent made by the latest technology. In an instant, it can make a person dozens of times stronger than before. Super Biotechnology Research Lab? Li Changsheng repeated it a few times and asked again, if I join your martial arts club, will I be able to see her? The man immediately understood that Li Changsheng had taken a fancy to Yu Wei. He immediately said, although Assistant Professor Yu and our martial arts club are just partners, she will come with her teacher every once in a while. So, if you join our martial arts club, you will have a chance to get close to Assistant Professor Yu. Okay, I'll join. Happiness came too suddenly, which made the boy unable to react for a while. Are you really going to join, just like that? The young man asked again. Why? Are there any other conditions to join your martial arts club that I have to meet? Hearing Li Changxing's question, the young man hurriedly waved his hand. No, of course not. You can join as long as you pay. He seemed to have realized that he had spilled the beans, so he hurriedly changed the topic. Hello, my name is Shangwan Zhe. I'm the publicist of the martial arts club and also an ordinary student. We can learn together in the future. Hello, I'm Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng shook hands with him and walked into the martial arts club together. There were figures coming and going inside. A few of them had reached the great accomplishment of external energy and were one step away from attaining inner energy. In the past, they were considered first-class experts. It seemed that the spirit energy revival had indeed created a lot of people. Shangwan Zhe took Li Changsheng inside to sign up and pay the tuition fee. Then, he gave Li Changsheng a set of training clothes and asked Li Changsheng where he lived. Li Changsheng said that he lived in the Yi family villa. Indeed, in addition to looking for Yu Wei in Beijing, there was also an old friend, Yi Shuang. Originally, he had planned to meet Yi Shuang after looking for Yu Wei. He happened to know that Yu Wei had come to Beijing. This time, the two of them could meet together. Hearing Li Changxing's words, Shangwan Zhe's eyes widened. Brother, are you kidding? The Yi family villa? Yi Haoren's house? Yes. Li Changsheng nodded matter-of-factly. However, Shangwan Zhe laughed out loud. A girl next to him, who was helping Li Changsheng register his information, also laughed. Since the spirit energy revival, the Yi family in Beijing has produced several experts. The head of the Yi family, Yi Haoren, and the eldest daughter, Yi Shuang, have joined the Berserkers and made many contributions. Now, they're all very famous people in Beijing. If you live in a Yi family villa, you don't need to come to our martial arts club to learn martial arts. Hearing Shangwan Zhe's words, Li Changxing touched his nose and explained, I haven't been to Beijing for many years, so I didn't know. In fact, I don't live in the Yi family villa. I know the eldest daughter of the Yi family, Yi Shuang. Hearing this, the young man patted him on the shoulder and didn't say anything else. However, the meaning was obvious. Brother, you don't have to explain. We know you're bragging. After registering, Li Changsheng took a taxi to the Yi family villa. However, he saw that the door of the villa was closed. He knocked for a long time, but no one opened the door. He released his divine sense and found that there was no one in the Yi family villa. At this moment, an old man came out for a walk. After seeing Li Changsheng, he said, the Yi family has been busy resisting the monsters recently. Their whole family has been away for many days. It will probably take some time for them to come back. If you're looking for the Yi family, you'd better come back in a few days. Okay. Li Changsheng thanked the old man and found a hotel in Beijing to stay for the time being. At the same time, he bought a new cell phone on the street. However, now that the spirit energy revival had interfered with the previous signal waves, the communication methods had been strengthened. The contact information that Li Changsheng had memorized in the past was no longer useful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to look for old friends everywhere. He just needed to make a few phone calls. However, He didn't know that just an hour after he left the Yi family villa, several luxury cars stopped in front of the Yi family villa. A team of people wearing tights stood in two neat rows. The eldest daughter, Yi Shuang, and her father, Yi Haoran, walked in. The weak woman who once needed Li Changxing's protection was now an influential figure in Beijing who was in charge of military forces. Chapter 921. Li Changsheng, who did not see Yi Shuang, had to go to the Baihong Martial Arts Club the next day to inquire about Yu Wei. He opened the door and walked into the martial arts club. Shangguan Zhe was looking around at the door. When he saw Li Changsheng, he hurried over. "Why are you so late? The training in the martial arts room has already begun. Our instructor is famous for his ruthlessness. When he scolds you later, you must not talk back." As he spoke, he pulled Li Changsheng into the training hall in a hurry. There were already more than 50 students in the hall. There were both men and women, all wearing white training clothes. In front of the students was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a square face and a determined expression. He was coldly looking at Li Changsheng and Shangguan Zhe, who had quietly walked in. As soon as the two of them found a place to stand, the middle-aged man pointed at them. "Shangguan Zhe, and you come out." Shangguan Zhe stuck out his tongue at Li Changsheng. The two of them stood out together. "Do you know how many minutes you were late?" 3 minutes. "Do you know that 3 minutes is enough for you to die 8 times on the battlefield? You have no sense of time. Is this the attitude of a martial artist?" The instructor scolded them to their faces. Li Changsheng did not speak. After the instructor finished scolding, he and Shangguan Zhe returned to the team. But just as they took 2 steps, the instructor said again, "Stop." Shangguan Zhe and Li Changsheng suddenly stopped, thinking, "The instructor has finished scolding us. What else can we do?" The instructor pointed at Shangguan Zhe and said, "You return to the team." Then he pointed at Li Changsheng and said, "You walk slanted. You don't look like a martial artist. Go to the wall and do a handstand. You don't have to attend this class." Li Changsheng did not want to argue with him. After all, he was the instructor responsible for training them. He was now a student. It did not matter if he was reprimanded. But he was busy looking for Yu Wei, and this coach wanted him to do handstands. Moreover, Li Changsheng had talked a lot of nonsense when he was reprimanding him. Just because he was 3 minutes late, he made it sound more serious than the sky. Actually, Li Changsheng was quite disdainful of making such a big fuss over nothing. Seeing Li Changsheng standing there without moving, the coach frowned. "What? You're not convinced?" Li Changsheng felt very wronged. He was just a little absent-minded. How did he become unconvinced? He immediately raised his voice and said, "No, you just can't accept it. I really didn't. You're definitely not convinced." "All right," Li Changsheng shrugged. "If you're not convinced, then so be it. Since you are not convinced, why did you come here to study? Isn't it just to improve yourself? I'm reprimanding you for your own good. I'm punishing you so that you'll remember your lesson and never do it again. How can you not be convinced?" As he spoke, the coach looked as if he hated him for not fighting back. Li Changsheng felt very speechless. He was not unconvinced. It was the other party who insisted on labeling him as unconvinced. However, the coach also made Li Changsheng a little impatient. He immediately shouted, "I'm not convinced." "So what? I don't want to do handstands." "So what? You're talking so much nonsense and wasting so much of my time. I think you should go do handstands to punish yourself." "How dare you talk back?" The coach was so angry that his face turned red. He said loudly, "If you have the same strength as me, then I'll do handstands." The coach waved his fist and stared at Li Changsheng as if Li Changsheng had killed his whole family. Hearing this, Li Changsheng suddenly laughed. It turned out that it was still a competition of fists. Whoever's fist was harder had more reason. If you had said so earlier, there wouldn't be so much trouble. Come on. As he spoke, he hooked his finger. This time, not only the coach, but even Shangguan Zhe and the group of students were stunned. Although the coach was famous for his blabbering, his strength was unquestionable. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many students who were willing to be scolded and scolded by him every day and still came to class. Li Changsheng, a new student, actually dared to provoke the coach. In the eyes of everyone, this was clearly a little reckless. Li Changsheng, don't talk back to the coach. Do you want to die? This coach can smash a 20-centimeter stone in a flower with one punch. How dare you provoke him? Shang Wanzhe whispered at the side. Li Changsheng only cast a reassuring look at him. The coach, who was already angered by Li Changsheng, rolled up his sleeves and said loudly, "Kid, don't say that I'm bullying the younger generation. If I hurt you later, you can't blame me for being ruthless." Li Changsheng couldn't help but frown. This coach was really a little naggy. He immediately said, "Go ahead. I'm afraid you won't be able to hurt me. Instead, you'll hurt yourself." "What did you say?" "Kid, it seems that you're quite arrogant." The coach finally couldn't help but rush toward Li Changsheng. This coach had some real skills. When he rushed toward Li Changsheng, his fist made a whistling sound in the air. Many people cast a pitiful look at Li Changsheng, thinking, this kid is going to be taught a lesson today. However, their expressions soon became surprised, then stunned, and then full of shock. They saw Li Changsheng gently turn sideways and easily avoid the coach's fist. Then, he grabbed the coach's arm with one hand and pulled hard. His knee hit the coach's lower abdomen. Before the coach could react, Li Changsheng grabbed his belt again and lifted him up. With a plop, he was thrown 5 or 6 meters away by Li Changsheng. When he landed on the floor, the whole room seemed to shake. This time, everyone was dumbfounded. Who would have thought that the coach, who had always been powerful, would be put down in a few seconds? Everyone stared at Li Changsheng and thought, "You're already so powerful. Why did you come here to be a student? Did you come here to torture the coach?" Fortunately, Li Changsheng was merciful. The coach struggled a few times and finally got up. He looked at Li Changsheng in horror. He felt sore all over. It was obvious that he couldn't teach them anymore. He cupped his hands toward Li Changsheng and said, "You're amazing. I'm convinced. I'll take a day off today. I'll get other instructors to teach you." The coach didn't have the face to stay any longer. He limped out of the training room. After the coach left, the whole training room was in an uproar. Shang Wanzhe ran directly to Li Changsheng and looked at Li Changsheng up and down as if he was looking at a rare treasure. Li Changsheng felt uncomfortable under his gaze and frowned. Finally, Shang Wanzhe looked away and said, "Friend, tell me honestly, are you a spy sent by another martial arts club? Otherwise, I really can't think of why you came to be a student in our martial arts club when your kung fu is so high." Chapter 922. I'm here for Yue. You should know that. Li Changsheng looked at Shang Wanzhe. Shang Wanzhe suddenly slapped his forehead and said, "Yes, I almost forgot about that. I was just about to ask you. When will Yue come to the martial arts club? How can I see her? I'm not sure when Yue will come, but if you want to see her, you can go to the biological company where she works. However, the project Yue is involved in is confidential, so you might not be able to see her. You should have said so earlier." Li Changsheng took off his training clothes and went to a 30-story building in the suburbs of Beijing, according to the address Shang Wanzhe gave him. It said, Chao Shun Biomedical Company. He got out of the car and went straight to the company's entrance. However, he was stopped by 2 security guards as soon as he reached the company's revolving door. "Sir, what are you doing here? We don't let you in here. I was invited by your researcher, Yue," Li Changsheng said casually. As far as he knew, Yue was a special researcher of this company. She was in charge of researching biological reagents that could stimulate the human body's potential with her mentor. "Are you Professor G of G-Men? Didn't you say that Professor G will only come tomorrow?" Li Changsheng was just making a random guess. He didn't expect to find the right person. He immediately puffed out his chest and said, "It's me. Let me in. Please wait a moment. I'll inform the leader." One of the security guards hurried into the store to report. The other security guard kept looking at Li Changsheng and thought, "Professor G is said to be an international expert in biology. I didn't expect him to be so young. You really can't judge a book by its cover." Soon, a group of people walked out. The leader was an old man with white hair. He He came over and held Li Chongqing's hand with both hands. Professor Ji, I've been looking forward to seeing you. Recently, our company's research has encountered a bottleneck. We're all counting on you to help solve the problem. Li Chongqing was then escorted into the building by a group of people in white coats. By the way, where did Yue go? Li Chongqing asked. The leading old man said, I'm Yue's mentor. I've been letting Yue interact with you because she happened to be busy today. As they spoke, the group of people led Li Chongqing to a large laboratory. All kinds of machines were constantly running, and there were staff coming and going. The biological reagent we are researching has reached the most critical point. As long as it is successfully injected into a person's body, the person will instantly possess great power. The stronger the body, the greater the power that can be stimulated. Isn't this a way to stimulate a person's potential? Li Chongqing mumbled. The professor took out a pile of materials, but he couldn't understand them either. She just said, I'm tired too. I've been on the plane for a long time. Why don't we wait until Yue comes tomorrow? I'll help you solve your problem. Li Chongqing said casually. The professors actually believed him. Mr. Jimin, we've arranged a welcome banquet for you tonight. You must attend. Will Yue come? Li Chongqing asked. Well, it seems that Mr. Jimin is very interested in Ms. Yue. We'll try our best to let her come. Okay, I'll definitely attend. Li Chongqing was afraid that he would be exposed if he stayed too long, so he pretended to leave the company. He didn't breathe a sigh of relief until he walked out of the building. Although he dominated the world, this was the first time he had lied like this. After leaving Chaoshan Biotechnology, Li Chongqing, who had nowhere else to go, returned to the Baihong Martial Arts Club. At this time, the members of the martial arts club had just finished their training. When Shangguan Zhe and the others saw Li Chongqing, they hurriedly surrounded him. The news that Li Chongqing defeated the coach had spread in the martial arts room. Many people looked at Li Chongqing in a different way. You're really good. The president also asked about you at that time. He said that he wanted to see if the student who could defeat the coach had 3 heads and 6 arms. Shangguan Zhe handed Li Chongqing a bottle of water, unscrewed a bottle for himself, and said while drinking, By the way, where did you learn Kung Fu? Although the other students weren't familiar with Li Chongqing, they were all asking questions at the same time. My Kung Fu is passed down to my family. Li Chongqing said casually. Let's go. It's time for lunch. Let's talk while eating. Shangguan Zhe was the kind of person who was familiar with people. He put his arm around Li Chongqing's shoulder, and they came to the canteen. In addition to Shangguan Zhe, there was another woman who sat down. Obviously, she had a good relationship with Shangguan Zhe. She was a woman in charge of registration yesterday, named Wang Cheng. Wang Cheng was obviously interested in Li Chongqing and asked questions. When he heard that Li Chongqing left the martial arts club at that time and went to Super God Biotech to find a Yue, he asked curiously, Do you know her? Why do you have to go to her? She's my girlfriend, Li Chongqing replied. Suddenly, Wang Cheng and Shangguan Zhe, who were eating, stopped their chopsticks and looked at Li Chongqing in surprise. Are you kidding? Yue is a famous beauty in Super God Biotech Company. The people who chase her can line up for several streets, but I've never heard that she has a boyfriend. Shangguan Zhe said, Yes, it's normal for you to want to pursue others, but your ideological realm is advanced enough that you have begun to hypnotize yourself. Wang Qing also said with a smile. Li Chongqing saw that they didn't believe it and didn't bother to explain more. He just smiled and buried himself in eating. In the afternoon, Li Chongqing trained with them, but there was no coach who didn't open his eyes to trouble Li Chongqing. Instead, during the break, several coaches came to Li Chongqing and asked for some fighting skills. It was really because the strength shown by Li Chongqing when he defeated the coach in the morning was too strong. After the afternoon training, Li Chongqing came to the place where the welcome banquet was held as agreed. When he walked into the hall, the spotlight immediately hit him, and there was a warm applause. Hello, Professor Jimin. Professor Jimin, please tell us a few words. Someone shouted. Li Chongqing knew that he had to play the whole show, so he nodded and walked to the high platform. The field suddenly quieted down. Just as Li Changsheng was about to speak, someone suddenly raised his hand and stood up. As far as I know, Mr. Ji Min should be in his 30s, but you look so young, so I have some doubts about whether you're Mr. Ji Min or not. Everyone has already confirmed your identity based on your words. I wonder if you can produce any evidence to prove it. Hearing the young man's words, the field suddenly fell into silence. They didn't expect that he dared to question the identity of Mr. Ji Min. However, on second thought, the young man's doubts were not unreasonable. Yu Wei, the only person in the company who had contact with the Ji sect, did not come. Based on the other party's words, they believed that the other party was from the Ji sect. What if the other party was sent by another company to steal the research results? At the thought of this, the cold sweat on the heads of several professors in the field flowed down. Chapter 923. Li Changxing didn't expect that someone would question his identity. Yu Wei hadn't arrived yet, but he had to continue pretending in front of so many people. So he asked, "Then how can you believe that I'm Ji Min?" "It's very simple." The young man said, "I heard that Professor Ji Min is proficient in biotechnology. You just have to tell us your views on biology." I don't know." Li Changshang shook his head directly. "What? You don't know?" "Huh. I was just wondering. It seemed that I guessed right. You're really pretending. I just don't know what benefits you can get by pretending to be a professor." "Of course there's no benefit. As a top biology professor in the world, how can I explain my theory clearly in such a short time? Why don't I give you a live demonstration?" "How?" There was a lot of whispers and discussions in the field. "Aren't you going to study a way to increase the strength of ordinary people quickly? I wonder who can provide me with a small animal. A parrot, a squirrel, or a golden bear can do it." Hearing Li Changxing's words, a girl in the field raised her hand. "It just so happens that I bought a rabbit for my brother to play with." As she spoke, she took out a small cage with a little white rabbit in it. "Bring it up." Everyone in the field looked at Li Changsheng, not understanding what he was going to do. After Li Changsheng took the cage, he took out the little white rabbit inside. At the same time, he asked the staff to bring over a syringe. He mixed glucose into the syringe and injected it into the rabbit's body. Everyone present held their breath and stared at Li Changsheng without blinking, wanting to see what he was going to do. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. A full 10 minutes passed, but the rabbit still didn't respond. Just when everyone was about to lose their patience, Li Changsheng patted the rabbit's head gently. Suddenly, the rabbit grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. It grew from a small rabbit to a big one, and then it continued to grow until it was as big as a wolfhound. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Yu Wei's teacher, the old professor, was the first to stand up and ask, "Professor Ji, is this the latest biotechnology you've developed?" "Not bad." Li Changsheng smiled faintly. "This was actually just a tiny bit of the white tiger's bloodline and injected it into the rabbit's body. The white tiger's bloodline was so powerful that even a tiny bit was enough to cause the rabbit to mutate. Fortunately, this rabbit was docile by nature. Even after mutating, it was just a slightly bigger docile rabbit. If it were any other powerful animal, they would have immediately attacked." At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. It was as if they had seen a miracle. Although they were researching the latest biotechnology, the idea of injecting drugs into people to make them stronger was just an idea. After countless experiments, they had not succeeded, so they needed the help of the Ji sect. At this moment, they were witnessing a miracle with their own eyes. The shock in their hearts could no longer be described with words. Good heavens! I really can't believe it. Could it be that foreign countries have already developed such a high-level reagent? Everyone looked at Li Changsheng with shock, adoration, and passion in their eyes. "Do you believe it now?" Li Changsheng looked at the young man who questioned him. The young man bowed respectfully to Li Changsheng. "Professor Ji sect, I'm convinced. Other than the famous Professor Ji sect, who else can create such an advanced biological reagent?" "Good. I have some things to do today. You can continue with the banquet. I'll take my leave first. By the way, when Yu Wei comes to work, remember to inform me." After that, Li Changsheng turned and left, leaving behind admiring gazes. It was already 10 o'clock at night when he returned to the hotel. Li Changsheng stood in front of the bright floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the thousands of lights below. He wondered if Yue was also standing in front of the window, looking out at the night sky and thinking about someone. The next morning, Li Changsheng went directly to Chao Shun Biotechnology. What happened yesterday had already spread in the company. Everyone knew how amazing Li Changsheng was. Everyone looked at him with admiration. The big rabbit was placed in the laboratory to be studied. It was said that the professors were excited the whole night and stayed in the laboratory without sleeping. They only slept for 2 hours in the morning and then rushed to the laboratory again. Many media reporters swarmed in. Fortunately, when Li Changsheng came in, they did not know that Li Changsheng was the Professor G sect they were going to interview. Otherwise, Li Changsheng would have appeared in the headlines of all the newspapers in Beijing. Yue is still not here? Li Changsheng asked Yue's teacher, the person in charge of this project. No, Yue said she only took 1 day off. It's already the 3rd day. She didn't answer my calls. Could something have happened to her? Where is her house? I'll go to her house to find her. Li Changsheng, who originally wanted to give Yue a surprise, finally lost his patience. The old professor hesitated for a moment and then told Li Changsheng Yue's address. As soon as Li Changsheng left the laboratory, he heard someone say, "That's Professor G-Man." Then, a group of reporters surrounded him. However, when they walked over, they found that Li Changsheng was already gone. Their Professor G-Man was gone. Li Changsheng left the company and took a taxi to Yue's place. This was a very high-end apartment building. It was specially built for the employees of Chao Shun Biotechnology. It was full of high-tech facilities. Normal strangers would never be able to break in. However, it was not enough to stop an expert like Li Changsheng. After entering the dormitory building, he went to Yue's house. He knocked for a long time, but there was no response. Just then, he saw a girl coming back from the house next door. "Have you seen Yue these few days?" This building was full of employees of Chao Shun Biotechnology. When the female employee heard Li Changsheng's words, she was pleasantly surprised. "You're Professor G-Man? I live next door to Yue, but I haven't seen her since she went to bed. She didn't come back at night either." "Okay, thank you." Li Changsheng walked out of the dormitory building. He did not know where to find Yue, so he had to go back to the hotel first. However, as soon as he opened the hotel door, he saw a note fall down. "If you want to see Yue, come to Dashin village outside the 6th Ring Road in the afternoon. If you're late, you'll have to collect her body." Seeing this note, Li Changsheng's heart skipped a beat. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Something happened to Yue, but who wanted to deal with him? They used Yue as bait and knew his whereabouts so well. He did not even tell the people from the Verdant sect. Chapter 924. Li Changsheng arrived at the Dashin village outside the 6th Ring Road, according to the address written on the slip of paper. Because he was worried about Yue's safety, he arrived early and began to wait at the agreed location. After waiting for nearly an hour, he saw a few cars appear. The doors opened and figures walked out one after another. Among them, Yue was chained up by them. Li Changsheng's gaze immediately turned cold. He recognized these people. They were the supreme headmaster of the immortal palace, Gong Bumming, as well as the disciples of the 5 supreme elders. He didn't expect it to be these people. If he had known earlier, he would have killed all of them in the arena that day. In an instant, Li Changsheng's murderous intent spread out like a tide. When Yue saw Li Changsheng, her eyes were immediately filled with surprise and then anxiety. "Li Changsheng, leave quickly. I want to deal with you." "Huh? Is he willing to leave?" "If he was willing to leave, he wouldn't have come." "Li Changsheng, we meet again." Gong Bumming's 2 arms that were chopped off that day had grown back at this moment. A profound finger realm expert already possessed many powerful abilities. It wasn't difficult to regrow a severed arm. However, cutting off an arm would consume a lot of his blood essence. At the very least, his cultivation would regress a lot. In fact, this was also because Li Changsheng had been merciful at that time. Allowing him to cut off his arm was already very kind. However, to Gong Bumming, losing that bit of cultivation was nothing. More importantly, it made him feel very humiliated. Gong Bumming, let go of Yu Wei, and I can pretend that nothing happened. Li Changsheng said coldly. Ha ha ha. Gong Bumming laughed loudly. Li Changsheng, do you think I'm playing a game with you? I spent so much effort to kidnap Yu Wei, just to let her go in front of you? Li Changsheng, you are indeed very powerful. You are the most powerful person I have ever seen in my life. However, you have a fatal weakness. That is, you are too emotional. After my arms were broken by you last time, I studied everything about you and found that this is your biggest weakness. Yu is your biggest weakness. Now that your weakness is in my hands, you have to listen to me obediently. What exactly do you want? What do you want? I just want to take revenge. My disciple was killed by you. My immortal palace has lost all face. If you don't die, how can I live happily? As he spoke, he gave an elder beside him a meaningful glance. The elder immediately pulled out his sword and walked in front of Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng, now you have to do as I say. If you don't dare to refuse, I will kill her immediately. All right. Li Changsheng took a deep breath. For Yu Wei's safety, he could only choose to submit for the time being. Then let the show begin. As soon as his voice fell, that elder directly raised his sword and slashed Li Changsheng's body with a kacha sound. Because Li Changsheng's body was too strong, the sword light actually made a sound of metal clashing. Gong Bumming suddenly frowned. Li Changsheng's strength was beyond his expectation. Disperse the power in your body. Otherwise, I'll cut her face with a knife first. As he spoke, he used the dagger to cut Yu Wei's face. Yu Wei was so scared that she hid back. Okay. Li Changsheng nodded. The next moment, the sword slashed again. Crack! This time, blood immediately began to gush out his chest. Cut him 30 times first. Gong Bumming laughed loudly, his face full of arrogance. Crack, 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 crack. That elder also hated Li Changsheng to the extreme. Every strike of his sword was incomparably ruthless. Soon, Li Changsheng's clothes were dyed red with blood, but Li Changsheng still looked at Gong Bumming coldly. Huh, boy, how dare you stare at me? Cut off his arms. No, Yu Wei was already crying. Kill me. As she spoke, she took the initiative to rush her neck toward the dagger in Gong Bumming's hand. Huh, it's not that easy to die. Gong Bumming waved his hand, and the dagger disappeared. Li Changsheng, don't get hurt for me again. If you die, I won't live alone. Don't save me. Yu Wei screamed at the top of her lungs. Li Changsheng just smiled. It's okay. It's just cutting off an arm. As soon as he finished speaking, crack, crack, 2 swords fell. His 2 arms had already fallen to the ground. Cut off his calf again. Gong Bumming laughed, his eyes full of revenge excitement. So 2 more swords. Li Changsheng's body fell to the ground with a plop. His calf was cut off. I want to try too. Another elder took out a large saber and walked over. Me too. The elders and disciples of the Immortal Palace were very excited. They were afraid that Li Changsheng would die like this, so that they wouldn't have the chance to see his painful expression. Broken bones can be reborn. Li Changsheng, you must be thinking that after saving Yu Wei, you could take revenge. Haha, you are too naive. Gong Bumming laughed and took out 2 iron claws. This is a magic weapon that I specially made for you. As he spoke, the 2 iron claws were taken out by him. They turned into 2 black lights and flew toward Li Changsheng, directly piercing through Li Changsheng's shoulder blades. Your shoulder blades are pierced. No matter how powerful you are, you can't use them. Li Changsheng, you are so smart and powerful, but you have become so stupid. Do you really think that I will let Yu Wei go after you die? You are dreaming. I will imprison Yu Wei and make her the plaything of every disciple of the Immortal Palace. I will not give her clothes to wear. I will let her suffer humiliation. I will let you die with everlasting regret. Ha ha! Gong Bumming laughed wildly. He handed Yu Wei to the disciple next to him and walk to Li Changsheng with a big hammer. This hammer will destroy your dantian and make you a cripple. Without your legs and martial arts, I want to see how you can regenerate your broken bones. Li Changsheng, do you regret letting go of the immortal palace that day? It can't be helped. This is your weakness. After that, Gong Bumming raised the big hammer in his hand and smashed it down on Li Changsheng's body. Li Changsheng's body was torn apart in an instant and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Gong Bumming's face showed some confusion. Logically speaking, Li Changsheng's body was so strong that it was impossible for him to be smashed by a hammer. Oh no! His face changed. Then he saw the countless clouds of blood mist condense into a figure in the sky and float toward Yu Wei. The disciple next to him was about to attack Yu Wei when a sword light slashed down and cut him in half. Li Changsheng immediately put his arm around Yu Wei's shoulder. Are you okay? I'm fine. As soon as Yu Wei finished speaking, she fainted in Li Changsheng's arms. Li Changsheng put Yu Wei on the grass next to him. With a wave of his sword, he killed more than 20 disciples of the immortal palace next to him. Oh no! His shoulder blades were locked, but it didn't affect him at all. Gong Buming cried out in alarm and immediately turned to flee into the distance. The remaining elders and disciples were all scared out of their wits at this moment. They were very smart and fled in all directions instead of in the same direction. However, Li Changsheng sneered. Chapter 925. You want to escape? How can it be so easy? Li Changsheng tied Yu Wei to his body and began his hunt. He took a step forward and rose into the sky. He was the first to chase in the direction Gong Bumming escaped. Gong Bumming was the strongest person present, and he was also the one who ran the fastest. However, how could he be faster than Li Changsheng? He used all the strength in his body and even began to burn his potential to escape. In just a few seconds, he had run more than 100 miles. When he finally stopped and wanted to rest, a cold voice rang out. Why did you stop running? Gong Bumming's body suddenly tensed up. He felt a great sense of danger. Then, he turned his head and saw Li Changsheng's half-smiling face. You, how can you be so fast? Li Changsheng slowly raised his palm. Gong Bumming knew that he couldn't escape. I'll fight you to the death. As he spoke, he suddenly rushed toward Li Changsheng. However, as soon as he got close, Li Changsheng slapped him away. He flew more than 10 meters away, and his body cracked. Li Changsheng approached him step by step. Gong Bumming looked at Li Changsheng in horror. Li Changsheng was too powerful. He was unfathomable. Despair rose in his heart. Just kill me. Gong Bumming knew that he had no way to survive today. Kill you? Ha! Li Changsheng laughed loudly. Wouldn't it be too easy to kill you? As he spoke, he suddenly grabbed Gong Bumming's neck and lifted him up. Gong Bumming, listen to me. I'm going to crush your bones one by one and let you have a taste of what it means to live a life worse than death. Gong Bumming's body began to tremble when he imagined the pain. In the next moment, Li Changsheng directly imprisoned his cultivation and began to act. Crack! Starting from the thumbs, the 10 fingers were crushed into powder. Gong Bumming let out a scream. You're shouting too harshly. Li Changsheng picked up a stone from the side and stuffed it into Gong Buming's mouth with a kacha sound. Gong Buming's teeth were smashed. Gong Bumming made a whimpering sound with the stone in his mouth. Sure enough, the sound is much softer. Next, Li Changsheng began to crush his arms, legs, chest, ribs, and neck. Finally, under Gong Buming's pained gaze, he crushed his head with his foot. But was this the end? Of course not. Li Changsheng stretched out his hand and pulled out a transparent little person from the skull that Gong Bumming had stepped on. After stepping into the finger profound realm, one's divine soul was already able to condense into a substance. If it was an expert below the finger profound realm, their head would be crushed and they would completely vanish into thin air. However, the finger profound realm was different. Their divine souls would not die immediately, and if someone used a special method to nurture them, they could actually survive in the form of divine souls. If they found a body, they could even seize it and be reborn. Of course, Li Changsheng was not so kind as to find something to nourish the soul, to maintain Gong Bu Ming's divine soul. What he wanted to do was to refine Gong Bu Ming's divine soul bit by bit with the fire of the underworld. After he had experienced all the pain, he would die completely. This process was definitely the most torturous, because the most painful pain in the world could not be more intense than hurting one's divine soul. I beg you, please let me die. Gong Bu Ming's divine soul kept bowing to Li Changsheng. However, a ball of fire of the underworld appeared in Li Changsheng's palm and wrapped his divine soul inside without hesitation. A shrill scream was heard. The fire of the underworld had a restraining effect on divine souls. At this moment, under Li Changsheng's urging, Gong Bu Ming was suffering endless pain. After taking back the fire of the underworld, Li Changsheng's figure spread out again and flew in another direction. Although he had been delayed by Gong Bu Ming for a long time, when the disciples of the Immortal Palace fled, Li Changsheng had already placed a divine sense mark on them. Therefore, even if they fled to the ends of the earth, they could not escape from Li Changsheng's palm. A few minutes later, a disciple of the Immortal Palace was hiding in a jungle and panting heavily. In a short time, he had run thousands of kilometers, and his potential was completely stimulated. It seems that I'm finally safe. As the disciple muttered to himself, he suddenly saw a pair of shoes appear in his line of sight. He looked up and saw Li Changsheng's half-smiling face. The disciple turned around and was about to escape, but his neck was instantly grabbed. Then, with a crack, his head hung down softly, and he completely lost his life. Next, in countless directions, a similar scene happened to countless disciples of the Immortal Palace. Half an hour later, all of them, including several elders, were killed. Li Changsheng then returned to the hotel with Yu Wei. Yu Wei was restricted by the people of the Immortal Palace, and her body was extremely weak. Li Changsheng gave her a pill, and she woke up after an hour. The moment she saw Li Changsheng, Yu Wei could not help but throw herself into his arms. Changsheng, is it really you? Am I not dreaming? You are not dreaming. Li Changsheng looked at Yu Wei's thin appearance and felt very distressed. It was not until a long time later that Yu Wei left Li Changsheng's arms with a red face. When she heard Li Changsheng's story and learned that Li Changsheng had pretended to be Professor Ji Min and came to her company, she could not help but laugh out loud. However, her eyes were filled with worry. Professor Ji Min's status is not ordinary. You will not be able to hide the fact that you pretended to be him for a few days. Once Professor Ji Min comes to Beijing, your lie will be exposed. At that time, I am afraid that someone will come looking for you. As soon as her voice fell, Li Changsheng's phone rang and a very serious voice came through. Professor Ji Min, please come to the company. Someone is pretending to be you. Hearing this, Li Changsheng immediately knew that the real Professor Ji Min was here. However, in the Chao God Biotechnology Company, everyone thought that Li Changsheng was Professor Ji Min and the real Professor Ji Min was a fake. Changsheng, why don't I go with you and talk things out? Yu Wei said. No need. Li Changsheng shook his head and said, you are weak. You should stay here and rest. Leave this matter to me. Trust me. After that, Li Changsheng kissed Yu Wei's forehead gently and then turned to leave the hotel. When he arrived at the building of the Chao God Biotechnology Company, he heard a commotion as soon as he entered the lobby. A middle-aged man in his 40s was caught by several security guards. Several leaders and professors in the company were eyeing him covetously. When they saw Li Changsheng come in, they hurriedly greeted him. Professor Ji, you are finally here. There's a guy pretending to be you. The middle-aged man's clothes were untidy and his glasses were crooked. It was obvious that there had been some conflict before. You're the imposter? Ji Min stared at Li Changsheng and was so angry that his body was trembling. He did not understand why this guy was pretending to be him. You're the fake one. At this time, Yu Wei's teacher, the old professor, rushed up to Ji Min. Li Changsheng saw all this and could not help but feel funny. He hurriedly stopped him and said, Old professor, actually, I am really a fake. When Li Changsheng said this, the room fell into silence. After a few seconds, the old professor was the first to shake his head. I don't believe it. I don't believe it either. The other researchers, including the company's executives, all shook their heads. When Professor G-Min heard Li Chongqing admitted himself, he was happy that he could finally clear his name. However, he did not expect this scene. Chapter 926. I'm really a fake, Li Chongqing said. At this moment, Ji-min wanted to hold Li Chongqing's hand and thank him loudly. He was too aggrieved. He was obviously the real one and had already admitted that he was a fake, but these people just didn't believe him, which made him feel very helpless. I'm the real one. I'm the real one, Ji-min said loudly. Why don't you believe me? Do you think you're the real one? If you can make a little white rabbit as big as a tiger, we'll believe you. Yes, if you can't make it as big as a tiger, you can make it as big as a dog. Hearing their words, Ji-min was dumbfounded. There is no such advanced reagent in the whole world now. How can I make a little white rabbit as big as a tiger? Everyone sneered. You can't, but he can. Yes, we saw him become so big with our own eyes. It can't be magic, right? Ji-min curled his lips and said. He didn't believe that a rabbit could become as big as a tiger. Humph! What magic! We saw it with our own eyes. The boss of the company snorted and immediately ordered, Come on, pull that big rabbit over to this guy who claims to be Professor G-Man. A few minutes later, a cage with a huge rabbit was pulled over. G-Man was completely dumbfounded. Is this real? This is a miracle. With that, he looked at Li Chongqing. How did you do it? This is confidential. I can't tell you, but I'm really not G-Man. Li Chongqing emphasized repeatedly. The people present began to believe him. But why did you pretend to be Professor G-Man? Yu Yuwei's teacher asked. Because Yu Yuwei is my girlfriend. I couldn't find her, and I couldn't enter the building. I just heard that a Professor G-Man was coming, so I pretended to be him. Since you're not Professor G-Man, how can you make the rabbit bigger? This is the latest technology. I happen to know this technology. Hearing Li Chongqing's words, everyone present, including the G-Men, looked at Li Chongqing differently. For those professors, they had been researching life technology drugs for so long, but they hadn't made much progress. Now that they could make the rabbits bigger, they saw great hope. For the CEOs of the biotechnology industry, once they mastered this technology, it would be equivalent to an endless stream of wealth. Therefore, in their eyes, Li Chongqing was glittering gold. So that's the reason. We won't pursue the matter of you pretending to be Professor G-Man. The company CEO first apologized to Professor G-Man before looking at Li Chongqing. Now, I formally invite you to be a guest professor in our laboratory. You can ask for as much salary as you want. Please help us research biotechnology together. You don't have to come to work. You just have to come and give some pointers occasionally. Hearing his words, Li Chongqing frowned. Seeing this, the CEO was afraid that Li Chongqing would refuse, so he hurriedly said, If you become a guest professor in our company, you can stay with Yu Yuwei every day. You can also enter our laboratory openly. Hearing this condition, Li Chongqing was suddenly tempted. Anyway, he had nothing to do. He decided to stay in Beijing to accompany Yu Yuwei for a while, so he nodded and agreed. At this moment, everyone was excited. Even Professor G-Man came over and shook Li Chongqing's hand. Welcome to the team. With you, our biotechnology will definitely speed up. In this regard, Li Chongqing just smiled slightly. He didn't know much about biotechnology, but he knew magic and what kind of effect the spirit energy recovery would have. Therefore, in a way, he was actually more of an expert than these experts. Well, Yu Yuwei still need me to take care of her. I'll leave first. Li Chongqing remembered that Yu Yuwei was still lying in the hotel, so he hurriedly said goodbye. After he left, everyone in the biotechnology company hurriedly invited Professor G-Min in. Professor G-Min didn't even have time to change into his work clothes before he began to study the big white rabbit. To him, this was absolutely a miracle. Back at the hotel, Li Chongqing saw that Yu Yuwei was already up. When she saw Li Chongqing come in, Yu Yuwei hurriedly asked worriedly, How's the company? I've already taken care of it. Don't worry. Li Changsheng said. And I'm now a guest professor in your laboratory. Really? Changsheng, you're amazing. Yu Yue said happily. Changsheng, it's not convenient to stay in the hotel. Let's go back to my dormitory apartment. Yu Yue couldn't help but blush when she said this. Her dormitory apartment wasn't big, and there was only one bed. She felt that she was a little too direct. A girl should be more reserved. Okay. Li Changsheng looked at her with a smile. Yu Yue couldn't help but lower her head shyly. Therefore, the two checked out and went back to Yu Yue's apartment together. Along the way, many people in the apartment saw Yu Yue and Li Changsheng walking back to the house together. Suddenly, the news that the goddess of Chao Biotech Company, Yu Yue, was taken began to spread. Many people were heartbroken, beat their chests, and stamped their feet. Some even cried bitterly. After staying in the apartment for a week, Yu Yue's body finally recovered. Shang Guanzi called Li Changsheng several times to ask why Li Changsheng didn't come to class recently. Li Changsheng said that he had something to do. Everyone understood. After all, with Li Changsheng's strength, it didn't matter much whether he went to class or not. It just so happened that Professor Ji Min and Yu Yue's teacher were going to the Baihong Martial Arts Club for an inspection today. The Baihong Martial Arts Club and Chao Biotech Company had a cooperative relationship, so they would go there every once in a while. Therefore, Yu Yue asked to go with them. Li Changsheng naturally went with Yu Yue. They took a car to the entrance of the Baihong Martial Arts Club. The president of the Baihong Martial Arts Club had been waiting at the entrance for a long time. There was a banner hanging above, welcoming the guidance of the Chao Biotech Company team. Li Changsheng got out of the car and said to Yu Yue, "You guys go on the inspection first. I'm going to meet a few friends." Yu Yue nodded. Therefore, Li Changsheng walked to the training room, while Yu Yue and the others were led into the office by the president. "You're finally willing to come, but you must be good at calculating. Yu Yue is going to come here today. You must seize the opportunity." Shang Guanzi patted Li Changsheng's shoulder and said. He knew that Li Changsheng joined the martial arts club solely for Yu Yue. "It's not that I can calculate. I'm here with Yu Yue." "Damn, brother, aren't you just spouting nonsense? Don't tell me that you've already hooked up with Yu Yue in the past 7 days without a trace." "Of course." Li Changsheng patted his chest and said, "Don't look at my level. Yu Yue has already been taken by me. She's now my girlfriend." Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the people around him laughed out loud. Although Li Changsheng's kung fu was good, Yu Yue was the goddess of many people. They heard that many young men in the Chao Biotech Company liked Yu Yue. Yu Yue rejected them directly. How could Li Changsheng win her over so quickly? Chapter 9:27. It seems like you don't believe in my charm. Li Changsheng said loudly, "I'll prove it to you later." All right. Stop bragging. You'll be exposed when Yu Yue comes." "That's right. If Yu Yue was so easy to get, would you have chance?" "I heard that Yu Yue received enough love letters to pull half a truck." The people around them were chattering. At this moment, Professor Ji Min, Yu Yue, and the others walked over under the guidance of the president. "Look, the goddess is here." "Bro, didn't you say that Yu Yue was taken by you? Go over and say a few words to her. Prove it to us." The people around them were talking at once. In the end, Yu Yue also saw Li Changsheng. She greeted the teacher and then directly walked over. The goddess is walking over. Don't tell me she really knows Li Changsheng? I don't think so. Even someone as handsome as me doesn't have the guts to chase after Yu Yue. How could Li Changsheng get the goddess's favor? Someone accidentally blurted out what was on his mind. Yu Yue walked to Li Changsheng's side and naturally wrapped her arms around Li Changsheng's arm. She smiled and said, "Changsheng, is this your friend?" Li Changsheng nodded. Then, Yu Yue greeted everyone in a natural and graceful manner. "Hello, everyone. I'm Changsheng's girlfriend. This is the first time I've met you all. It's nice to meet you all." Hearing Yu Yue's words, everyone present was dumbfounded. They all looked at Li Changsheng in a daze. Yu Yue was really too outstanding. She was too superior. She made all the men present feel inferior standing in front of her. And such a goddess was captured by Li Changsheng just like that. It was no wonder they felt a little unbalanced. Changsheng, I'll accompany Professor Ji Min to the front. Yu Yuwei excused himself and followed the patrol team. After Yu Yuwei left, everyone finally reacted and looked at Li Changsheng in surprise. Brother, you're amazing. Shang Wanzhe was the first to give Li Changsheng a thumbs up. If it wasn't for the presence of so many people, he couldn't help but want to worship Li Changsheng as his teacher and let Li Changsheng teach him the Heart Sutra of picking up girls. By the way, Changsheng, you haven't been here for the past few days. There's something I need to tell you. Shang Wanzhe suddenly thought of something and said, the previous batch of students cultivated by the Bion Martial Arts Club made contributions in fighting against exotic beasts. The officials want to commend those senior brothers. The president said that all the members of the Bion Martial Arts Club should go and participate. The quota for this commendation ceremony is limited. Several martial arts clubs bigger than our Bion Martial Art Club don't have a chance to participate. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You must come to class tomorrow. We'll go together at night. Someone like you will definitely enter the martial arts circle of the capital in the future, and senior brother Tseng Rang has a very high position in the martial arts circle of the capital. If you can have a good relationship with him, it will be beneficial for you. If you're lucky enough to join the capital guards, it will be equivalent to having a backer. Hearing Shang Wanzhe's words, Li Changxing knew that he was doing it for his own good. He didn't say anything and just smiled. At this time, the originally noisy scene suddenly fell into silence. A group of people appeared at the door. Shang Wanzhe's face was full of excitement. Changsheng, look, the big shots are here. That is the son of a Yang family in the capital city. He is ranked 15th on the youth ranking list of the younger generation in the capital city. His heart-burning saber has killed countless monsters. That is Wu Sanhe, the eldest son of the Wu family. He is ranked 9th on the youth ranking list. The heartbreak sword in his hand is extremely powerful. And that young man, Yu Guangrong, ranked 6th on the youth ranking list. He doesn't have a weapon. He can split gold and stone with his bare hands. Shang Wanzhe introduced them to Li Changxing one by one, as if he was very familiar with them. I didn't expect 9 of the top 20 on the youth ranking list to be here. Today's banquet is worth it. Hearing Shang Wanzhe's words, Li Changxing couldn't help but ask, what is this youth ranking list? Who is ranked first on the youth ranking list? Shang Wanzhe turned his head and looked at Li Changxing as if he was looking at an alien. Brother, have you been living in seclusion in the primeval forest during the Spirit Chi revival? You don't even know what the youth ranking list is. The youth ranking list is a list based on the talent and strength of a younger generation. Those who are ranked on the list are all dragons and phoenixes. Senior brother Zheng Rang is ranked 193th on the youth ranking list. The number 1 on the list is the number 1 female war god in the capital city, Miss Yi Shuang of the Yi family. Chapter 928. With the appearance of all the young geniuses, the place suddenly fell into silence. Especially when Yi Shuang walked up to the high platform. Both men and women looked at her with admiration. Yi Shuang was now the top expert on the capital city youth list. After the recovery of Spirit Chi, she had shown great talent in cultivation. She was outstanding in martial arts and had been selected to join the Berserker team. She had made many contributions and was now in charge of the Berserker team, the capital city guards. She was known as the goddess of war. According to reliable news, the superiors intended to transfer her to southern Yunnan to suppress the evil there. By then, she would become the youngest general in the army. Even Tseng Rang's group of people focused their eyes on the high platform at this moment and stopped talking. Shang Wanzhe seemed to have found an opportunity and hurriedly pulled Li Changsheng to Tseng Rang's side. Senior brother Tseng Rang, let me introduce you. He is Li Changsheng, a new student of our Baihong Martial Arts Club. His kung fu is so powerful that even the coach is no match for him. He, Shang Wanzai kept introducing him to Tsung Rang. Tsung Rang could not help but frown and interrupted coldly. Shut up. Don't think that you have anything to do with me just because you are a student of the Baihong Martial Arts Club. If you dare to bother me again, I won't be polite to you. Hearing Tsung Rang's words, Shang Wanzai's face suddenly turned pale and red. Being said in such a manner by Tsung Rang in front of so many people, he felt his face burning. It was extremely embarrassing. Senior brother Tsung Rang, Shang Wanzai still wanted to explain. Tsung Rang sneered and said, "Don't call me senior brother. Who do you think you are? Get 5 meters away from me now. He doesn't mean any harm. Besides, he admires you very much along the way." At this moment, Li Changsheng could not stand it anymore and spoke up. "There are many people who admire me. Who does he think he is? Also, who do you think you are? Didn't you want to come over and get to know me just now? There are too many people who want to ride my coattails these days. I can tell you clearly now that even if you were lucky enough to join the Berserker team and become a member of the capital city guards in the future, I won't take care of you at all. Do you understand?" Hearing Tsung Rang's words, Li Changsheng could not help but chuckle. "First of all, I won't join any berserkers. Secondly, who do you think you are? Do I need you to look after me?" He didn't expect Li Changsheng's attitude to be so tough, which surprised Tsung Rang a little. "Brat, do you know who you're talking to?" Li Changsheng was about to speak. However, Shang Wanzai hurriedly pulled him aside. "Changsheng, your temper is not good. Tsung Rang is now a member of the guards, and his strength is strong. He is not someone we can offend. I know you are fighting for me, but when we encounter such a situation, we can only endure it. There is no other way. Actually, if you didn't stop me, I would have helped you teach this Tsung Rang a lesson," Li Changsheng said. Shang Guanzai shook his head. "Changsheng, you don't know how terrifying the berserkers are. Fortunately, you didn't make a move. Otherwise, you would have caused a disaster." At this time, after the host finished introducing several young talents, he finally pointed the microphone at Yi Shuang. "Captain Yi, you are the guardian of our capital. How about it? Say a few words to everyone." "Okay." Yi Shuang took the microphone. "I hope that as long as everyone has the talent to practice martial arts, they will work hard and strive to protect our home." Her voice was short, but there was a warm applause in the venue. After speaking, Yi Shuang handed the microphone to the host and was about to leave the stage. She was not used to this kind of occasion. However, the host stopped her. "Martial God Yi, why are you in such a hurry? It's not easy to interview you face to face. How can you leave? If you have any questions, just ask." Yi Shuang stopped in her tracks. "Martial God Yi, I heard that you were born in the Yi family. You have a precious body, and now you are an important figure among the berserkers. Although you are a woman, women are not inferior to men. I'm very curious about who is worthy of you. Do you have someone you like?" Hearing the host's words, Yi Shuang's eyes suddenly became sad. She took the microphone and said, "Of course, I have someone I like. His surname is Li, and he is an extraordinary man. The reason I embarked on the path of martial arts has a lot to do with him. He's a peerless master. Many people think that I am ranked first on the youth ranking because of my outstanding strength. But compared to him, I am as weak as an ant. He is the man who can support the sky and earth in my heart. I dream of meeting him." Hearing Yi Shuang's voice, the surrounding people could not remain calm. It turned out that the powerful martial god also had someone she admired and someone she liked. However, they did not know who was so lucky to make the martial god like him. How I wish to see him again. How I wish to let him hold my hand. That would be the happiest thing in my life. Hearing Yi Shuang's confession, Li Changsheng's heart was also very moved. Finally, he strode towards the high platform. "Li Changsheng, where are you going?" Shang Guanza asked doubtfully. On the stage, hearing Li Changsheng's words, Shang Guanza was a little stunned. "What are you doing on the stage?" Although the martial god said that her lover's surname is Li, she is not referring to you. Didn't you hear that her lover is many times stronger than her? He must be a great hero. Don't go up there and embarrass yourself. I am that man who is many times stronger than her." Li Changsheng smiled and did not stop walking. Sung Rang also noticed Li Changsheng walking towards the stage. He could not help but chuckle with some disdain in his eyes. He really doesn't know the difference between life and death. He thinks that just because the Valkyrie is beautiful and looks weak, he dares to run up and make fun of her. In the past, there were a few people who didn't know the difference between life and death. Just because they took advantage of the Valkyrie with words, they ended up being beaten until they couldn't get out of bed for months. Many people around noticed Li Changsheng, and immediately there was a burst of discussion. Who is that? What is he doing? Is he going to confess to the martial god? I admire his courage. I only hope that his body is still intact when he walks off the stage. Amidst countless people's discussions, Li Changsheng had already reached the edge of the high platform. He then walked up step by step. Even the young geniuses on the high platform noticed him. The host was even more confused. Friend, we did not invite you to the stage. Is there something you need? I'm the man that Yi Shuang was talking about. Hearing that, the host immediately looked at Yi Shuang. However, Yi Shuang turned her head to the side. I don't know this person. The host's face immediately darkened. Friend, please don't cause trouble. Martial God, Yi is a hero of the country. You shouldn't joke about her lover. Since you don't know me, I'll be leaving, Li Changsheng said. In the next moment, Yi Shuang turned around and threw herself into Li Changsheng's arms. She hugged Li Changsheng's waist tightly and whispered, You heartless person, I was just joking with you. At that moment, the stage fell into complete silence. One could even hear a pin drop. Chapter 9:29. I didn't expect him to be the goddess of martial arts sweetheart. He doesn't look like much. Someone said sourly. Yeah, I wonder what the goddess of martial arts likes about him. Sung Rang, who had ridiculed Li Changsheng earlier, had an extremely ugly expression on his face. Shang Wanzhe and the people from the Baihang Martial Arts Club were completely dumbfounded. He's the goddess of martial arts sweetheart. I didn't expect that. Yi Shuang finally noticed that they were in public. She couldn't help but leave Li Changsheng's embrace shyly. The hostess also reacted. She suppressed the shock in her heart and said, Since you're the goddess of martial arts sweetheart, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know more about you? My name is Li Changsheng. I'm now a member of the Baihang Martial Arts Club. What? His words caused an uproar in the hall. After all, Yi Shuang said he was a peerless expert. How could he be a member of the martial arts club? Could it be that Yi Shuang likes an ordinary person? The Baihang Martial Arts Club? I remember that there's a member of the Baihang Martial Arts Club who has made great contributions in fighting the exotic beast this time. As soon as the hostess finished speaking, many people looked at Sung Rang. It was because of Sung Rang's outstanding performance in fighting the exotic beasts that the Baihang Martial Arts Club was qualified to attend this banquet. Mr. Sung Rang, please come to the stage. The hostess thought that Li Changsheng must have a good relationship with Sung Rang since he was from the Baihang Martial Arts Club, so she invited him with a smile. With Sung Rang's strength, he was not qualified to go to the stage today. Sung Rang didn't look good, but in front of so many people, he had to nod and go to the stage. Mr. Sung Rang, I didn't expect the Baihang Martial Arts Club to have so many talents. How much do you know about Mr. Li Changsheng? Why don't you introduce him to everyone? The hostess was flattering Li Changsheng. Normally, when invited guests went on stage, they would definitely praise Li Changsheng. This way, whether it was Li Changsheng or Yi Shuang, it would look good on their faces. However, Sung Rang had already offended Li Changsheng before, so he knew that it was useless to say nice words now. He immediately said coldly, I don't know much about this Mr. Li. I only know that he is a new member of our martial arts club. You can imagine the strength of a new member. I don't think I need to say more. I didn't expect him to really be a rookie. As soon as Sung Rang's words fell, the crowd burst into an uproar again. If Li Changsheng was truly a peerless expert, then everyone would be convinced if he was paired with Yi Shuang. But if he was just a rookie, then it would inevitably make people feel like a fresh flower stuck in cow dung. Hearing Sung Rang say such words after going on stage, the host's face turned slightly ugly. After all, she asked Sung Rang to go on stage to support Li Changsheng. She wanted Sung Rang to say something like Li Changsheng was a member, but his strength was extraordinary. She didn't expect Sung Rang to be so rude. Wasn't he undermining her in public? Even Yi Shuang's face turned ugly. To be precise, Sung Rang was a small captain in the Imperial City Guards. He was her subordinate, but now he seemed to have a problem with Li Changsheng. She immediately sneered. Sung Rang, so you think Changsheng is not as good as you? Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Sung Rang felt guilty, but he thought that he had already offended Li Changsheng. With the relationship between Li Changsheng and Yi Shuang would not be nice to him in the future. He might as well go all out. He immediately straightened his chest and nodded, saying, "Yes, a new member. How can he compare with me?" As soon as he said that, there was an uproar in the crowd. It was clear that they were going to shed all pretense of cordiality. Really? In that case, why don't you have a competition with Li Changsheng? Yi Shuang snorted. She knew Li Changsheng's strength. I couldn't ask for more. Sung Rang looked at Li Changsheng with burning eyes. He smiled evilly. Do you need me to use one hand? Sung Rang was also very conceited. Although he did not dare to challenge Yi Shuang, he did not take Li Changsheng seriously. There's no need for that. I can only use one hand. Li Changsheng said indifferently. The moment these words came out, there was a strong smell of gunpowder. I hope you won't regret what you said later. Sung Rang snorted coldly and got into a stance. Obviously, he could not wait to teach Li Changsheng a lesson. Okay, then let's have a friendly competition. The host looked at Yi Shuang with the intention of smoothing things over. Marshal Godyi, what do you think? Of course, no problem. So the crowd cleared the field. Sung Rang made a gesture of invitation and said, "Make your move. You are not worthy of me making my move." Li Changsheng said indifferently. Sung Rang was instantly enraged. "You're courting death." He took a step forward and threw a punch at Li Changsheng. When the punch was thrown, there was a sonic boom in the air. The turbulent fist force brought about a gust of wind out of nowhere. Everyone around looked surprised. No wonder Sung Rang dared to offend Yi Shuang. His strength has already set foot in the innate realm. Shang Wanzai and the members of the Baihong Martial Arts Club looked surprised. Although they were just bystanders, the power of this punch was enough to suffocate them. However, Yi Shuang did not have much of a reaction. She just had a disdainful look on her face. Such a punch was indeed powerful. Sung Rang could exert such a deterrent when he had just set foot in the innate realm. His cultivation talent was excellent. No wonder his strength could advance by leaps and bounds in a few years after the recovery of spirit qi. However, he met Li Changsheng. It was like an ant challenging an elephant. The gap between the two was too big. The elephant could blow the ant away with a sneeze. In front of everyone's eyes, Li Changsheng only lightly pointed his finger forward. This finger was so casual that one couldn't see any power at all. However, the moment he pointed his finger, a terrifying amount of energy poured out. Boom! A sound like muffled thunder was heard. Before Sung Rang could react, his fist made a kacha-kacha sound, and then his whole arm began to twist. There was a look of horror in his eyes. He even let out a scream. In the next second, Li Changsheng took a step forward and came in front of him in an instant. Then he pressed his palm on Sung Rang's chest. Sung Rang's body was directly sent flying. He fell from the high platform into the crowd, causing panic. A part of his chest had caved in, and blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, just stood there quietly, as if he had done nothing. Hiss! Many experts on the high platform sucked in a breath of cold air. The way they looked at Li Changsheng had completely changed. Sung Rang was a famous expert on the youth list. Although there was a certain gap between him and the young talents on the stage, it was absolutely impossible to defeat Sung Rang so easily. Therefore, they could be sure that Li Changsheng was a top expert, just as Yi Shuang said. Damn it! Shang Wanzai's mouth was slightly open. He never expected Li Changsheng to be so strong. Yi Shuang just smiled. She had expected such an outcome. She was not surprised at all. This was the man she liked. He could shock everyone with just a casual move. Those so-called geniuses on the youth list were nothing compared to Li Changsheng. Chapter 9:30. Li Changsheng easily defeated Sung Rang. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He was too strong. No wonder Yi Shuang said that her admirer was a top expert. However, he looked so young. How could he be so strong? Several young geniuses on the high platform also felt a huge blow at this moment. Mr. Li is really amazing. The host took a deep breath and gave a thumbs up. At this time, someone had already called the hospital to send Sung Rang to the hospital. Li Changsheng left with Yi Shuang before the banquet was over. They hadn't seen each other for so long. Naturally, they had a lot of intimate things to talk about. When he returned to the Yi family's villa with Yi Shuang, Yi Haoran had already heard the news and rushed back. Nephew Li, we actually meet again. Before this, Yi Haoran already knew about Li Changsheng's strength. After the recovery of spirit qi, he had also inquired about Li Changsheng. Unfortunately, he only knew that Li Changsheng had left the Azure sect, which was a cultivation sect overseas. He didn't find any news about Li Changsheng. Uncle, I didn't bring you any gifts. Here are some spirit stones that can help you cultivate. Li Changsheng took out a bag and handed it to Yi Haoran. It was a space magic treasure that he had refined. The space inside was not big, but the spirit stones inside were enough for the father and daughter of the Yi family to cultivate for a few years. I'm not going to be a third wheel here and disturb you young people. I'll get someone to prepare some food and drink. You guys take your time. Yi Haoran said. Yi Shuang couldn't help but blush slightly. She felt that Li Changsheng was also a little embarrassed. After Yi Haoran left, Yi Shuang and Li Changsheng stayed in the house. At this time, Yi Shuang looked at Li Changsheng. By the way, where are you living now? Why don't you come to the Yi family's villa to stay? Yi Shuang took the initiative to say, well, Li Changsheng was now living with Yi Yue, so he shook his head and said, no, I'll be in the capital for a while anyway. I'll come to see you every day. Li Changsheng left after having dinner at the Yi family's house. The next day, news of the Beijing Valkyrie having a sweetheart had already spread in the circle. When Li Changsheng arrived at the Baihong Martial Arts Club, everyone looked at Li Changsheng with admiration. Mr. Li, I have a presumptuous request. At this moment, the president appeared and walked in front of Li Changsheng. What is it, President? Just say it. Li Changsheng said. I would like to invite Mr. Li to be the coach of our Baihong Martial Arts Club. The president knew about Li Changsheng's strength. If Li Changsheng became the coach, the Baihong Martial Arts Club would become popular immediately. I'm willing to give half of my shares to Mr. Li. This president was quite a bold person. Li Changsheng was just about to nod when a voice came in. President Liu, I'm afraid I'll have to snatch someone from you. Everyone turned around and saw a middle-aged man in a Chinese tunic suit, surrounded by a group of people, walking in. In addition to the middle-aged man, Yi Shuang was also beside him. Oh, it's General Chun. Seeing the middle-aged man, the president of the Baihong Martial Arts Club immediately showed respect. The middle-aged man just nodded slightly and then looked at Chen Xian. He extended his hand to Chen Xian and said, Hello, my name is Chun Xiueming. I've heard about Mr. Li for a long time. It's an honor to meet you today. Hello. Li Changsheng shook hands with him in confusion and looked at Yi Shuang next to him. Yi Shuang pulled Li Changsheng aside and whispered, Chun Xiueming is the supreme commander of the Berserkers. He's now the most powerful person in the government. What happened at the banquet spread? He heard about you and told me that he wanted me to bring him to see you. He wants you to be the instructor of the Berserkers. Changsheng, if it's not convenient for you, you can refuse. However, I think you should be willing to contribute to the country since you're Chinese. Now that spirit energy is recovering, wild beasts are mutating and evil spirits are wreaking havoc. Many people who can awaken their cultivation talent need the protection of the Berserkers. Otherwise, they will become food for the evil spirits. If you can make the combat power of the Berserker stronger, we can also protect more people. Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Li Changsheng nodded. Then, the two of them walked back to the crowd. Chun Xiueming had finished talking to the president. There was a hint of regret in the president's eyes. He could also see that Li Changsheng had nothing to do these days. If he could join his martial arts club as an instructor, even if it was just in name, the Baihang Martial Arts Club would become the most popular martial arts club in the capital. Of course, he definitely wouldn't dare to compete with Chen Xiuming. Mr. Li, Captain Yi should have already told you why I'm here. What do you think? As long as you join, as long as your conditions are not outrageous, and I can do it, I'll agree. My berserkers need talents like you. Of course, I'm willing to contribute to the country. However, I can't stay in the capital for too long, so I can't be an instructor for a long time. Also, you can't use this identity to restrict me. Of course. Chen Xiuming nodded. For someone like Mr. Li, who is like a divine dragon, even if we want to restrain him, we can't. Mr. Li, welcome. I'll ask the higher-ups to let you be at the same level as me. Hearing Chen Xiuming's words, everyone in the Baihang Martial Arts Club was shocked. He knew what level Chen Xiuming was at. He was the commander of the berserkers. Li Changsheng was at such a young age, yet he was going to be at such a level. Although he knew that this couldn't be real power, it was still too terrifying. All right, Mr. Li, since you've already agreed, when can you help me train our berserkers? Chen Xiuming couldn't wait. Over the years, relying on the recovery of spirit qi, the berserkers had selected batches of outstanding talents. These people were very powerful to ordinary people, but they were weak when compared to those cultivation sections. The emergence of sects like the Immortal Palace made the authorities feel that they could no longer suppress them. Therefore, if they could raise the strength of the berserkers by a level, it would have an extraordinary meaning. This was also the reason why he dared to promise Qin Xian to be at the same level as himself. In the next 2 days. By the way, will Yi Shuang be there too? He had been accompanying Yu Wei for the past few days, so he wanted to accompany Yi Shuang for a few more days. After all, he would be leaving soon. In fact, Li Changxing also had his own selfish reasons for agreeing to Chen Xiuming's request. If the berserkers were really powerful, then ordinary people like Yu Wei and many of his relatives and friends would also be protected. I'm afraid that Yi Shuang will be going to Dianan to suppress evil. If Mr. Shan Li is willing, after training the berserkers, you can bring the berserkers to Dianan to train. At that time, you can be together again. Okay. Although Chen Xian was slightly disappointed, he was not an indecisive person. Then I won't disturb Mr. Li. Chen Xiuming saluted Li Changsheng, turned around decisively, and left without hesitation. Yi Shuang also left with Chen Xiuming. President, what level is this Chen Xiuming at? He seems to be very powerful. Shangwan Zhe could not help but ask. The other members of the martial arts club also focused their attention on President Liu. President Liu lowered his voice and said, "He's the commander of the berserkers, equivalent to a general." As soon as his words fell, everyone present was surprised. Aren't people of that level above 50 or 60 years old? He looks like he's only 40 years old. That was an era of peace. Now that spirit qi is recovering, exotic beasts are rising, and evil spirits are running rampant. The world is on the verge of chaos. Chen Xiuming came out to shoulder the burden in such an environment. He will be recorded in the history books in the future. As he spoke, he could not help but look at Li Changsheng. Who would have thought that this smiling young man was already a big shot of the highest level in Dehua? Chapter 9:31. I'm completely convinced by you. Shangwan Zhe looked at Li Changsheng and did not know what to say. They had only known each other for a few days. He had randomly pulled a kid from the streets to the martial arts club, and he had become a big shot at the highest level in Dehua. No one in the Baihang Martial Arts Club would have thought of this, let alone him. As for the woman who helped Li Changsheng register that day, she blinked her eyes as she looked at Li Changsheng. Her heart was filled with complex emotions. She lamented how she had not discovered someone with such great potential like Li Changsheng. Well, it doesn't matter what level I'm at. We're still friends. Li Changsheng left the Baihang Martial Arts Club after staying for a while. He first went to the Chao Shan Biotechnology Company. As a guest professor, He did not make any contribution to the company. When they saw him walk in, the professors immediately surrounded him, especially Professor Ji-min. He had been studying the rabbit that Li Changsheng had turned into the size of tiger for the past few days. Unfortunately, he had found nothing. I have something to do in a few days, and I'll be leaving. Before I leave, I plan to leave something for you guys. Li Changsheng said. The people around him suddenly looked curious. At first, they were very excited to have Li Changsheng as a guest professor. However, Li Changsheng did not come here for several days and did not provide any substantial help. Even when they asked Li Changsheng about some biotechnology matters, Li Changsheng did not know anything about it. This made them slightly disappointed. At this moment, when they heard Li Changsheng say that he was going to give them something important, they waited quietly. Even the company's CEO rushed over when he heard the news. This is the most important thing that can make a rabbit grow bigger. If you guys can figure out how to use it, it will definitely be of great help to you. A drop of crimson blood appeared in Li Changsheng's palm again. There was a ball of brilliance lingering on the blood. This time, it was not the blood of a white tiger, but the blood of a giant star beast. The galactic iron-armored beast lived in the depths of the universe. It didn't even exist in the solar system. With the technology on Earth, it would take hundreds or thousands of years for such a beast to be discovered. Li Changsheng took out the blood now. As long as they could study the structure of the blood and use it on the human body, it would be able to improve the human body. Of course, Li Changsheng did not understand the specific operation. What's the use of this? How do you use luck? Ji-min asked doubtfully. Li Changsheng used a syringe to inject some of the blood into the rabbit that had become as big as a tiger. In an instant, the rabbit's eyes glowed red and thick scales grew on its body. Then it grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was almost the size of a house, and it was still growing. Everyone was completely dumbfounded. At this time, in order to prevent the rabbit from growing too big and uncontrollable, Li Changsheng directly slapped the rabbit until it fainted. Its huge body fell to the ground with a bang. Li Changsheng said to the few people, "This rabbit is still growing. Immediately find a large iron cage and put it in. Now you should understand the use of this blood, right?" Ji-min was already excited. Although Li Changsheng did not tell them how to make berserkers stronger, having such ready-made blood for them to study would undoubtedly save them a lot of energy. This guest professor position is really worth it. The company's CEO sighed. The other professors were also full of admiration for Li Changsheng. Since I've made such a great contribution to you, it shouldn't be a problem to give you Yue half a month's leave, right? Li Changsheng looked at the company's CEO. Of course, no problem. The CEO hurriedly nodded. In the next few days, Li Changsheng accompanied Yue to travel around. Yi Shuang, on the other hand, had already gone to southern Yunnan to carry out a mission the next day. Half a month later, Li Changsheng sent Yue to the company's entrance and then left. Yue quietly stood in front of the company's huge floor-to-ceiling window and watched Li Changsheng leave. Her eyes could not help but slightly redden. The last time Li Changsheng left, she had been thinking about him day and night. This time, she did not know when they would see each other again. How could Li Changsheng not know that Yue was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and watching him? However, he could only make up his mind and leave. There were countless dangers on the ancient starry sky path. Although the recovery of spirit chi on Earth was not very peaceful, berserkers were still the first generation. They would be able to suppress it when they slowly grew up in the future. The country definitely had a trump card that they had not used yet. Otherwise, given the nature of sects like the Palace of All Immortals, they would not only stir up trouble in the cultivation world. Therefore, it was relatively safe for Yue to stay on Earth. Not long after Li Changsheng left Transcendent Biotechnology, an army green off-road vehicle stopped in front of him. A woman with a good figure and long blonde hair walked out of the vehicle and walked directly to Li Changsheng in uniform. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Li Changsheng? I was ordered by General Chan to pick you up." The woman looked serious, but in fact, she had been secretly sizing up Li Changsheng. She did not know Li Changsheng's identity, but Chen Xueming ordered her to pick up Li Changsheng. Is he a new berserker? Yu Yue thought to herself. Is a berserker worthy of my personal greeting? Or is he the young master of some leader's family? She thought to herself, but she had already reached out to Li Changsheng. Yu Yue, Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng smiled slightly. Then, without saying anything, he directly got into the army green off-road vehicle. After half an hour on the road, they came to a courtyard. Chen Xueming, who was wearing a military uniform today, was standing at the door waiting. After seeing Chen Xueming, Yu Yue could not help but be shocked. The way she looked at Li Changsheng changed completely. Chen Xueming was now a popular figure with a high position and power. Even the generals of the same rank as him had not seen him come to the door to greet them. Those who were lower than him did not receive such treatment. Who is this young man? Just when Yu Yue was surprised, Chen Xueming had already stepped forward and opened the door personally. He laughed and said, "Mr. Li, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for so long that my hair has turned white." Such a move made Yu Yue even more shocked. Chen Xueming personally came to open the door, but the young man did not immediately get out of the car. Instead, he leisurely drank a mouthful of water before walking down. What a big attitude. "Mr. Li, I've already arranged everything over there. I'm sure you'll be satisfied with the environment. I've also set up a banquet here. Thank you, Mr. Li, for agreeing to let me go to the Berserker training camp." Chen Xueming warmly welcomed Li Changsheng in. Yu Yue, who was next to him, became more and more curious about Li Changsheng. She thought to herself, who the hell is he? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.